Well, looks like a lot of people were wrong about Joker Folie or what it was going to do at the box office. Didn't do well, guys. Didn't do well at all. And I think there's a lot of people who saw it, people who discussed it. It hurt the box office overall. So not only are John Rocha and I going to talk about that, we're going to really talk about and dive into the spoilers in this movie. So we'll have a section, if you haven't seen the movie already, if you're watching live, you're going to have to wait and come back because it's going to be a hearty part of the episode. But then we'll also break into why it failed, what happened, and that and more. We have some more stories and other things coming up. So let's get into it. Happy Monday to all of you. It is the Kristian Harloff Show. It's Monday, myself and John Rocha. Here we go. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's Monday. And thank you, by the way. We added a whole bunch of new members over the weekend. I noticed that this morning when I logged in. So to all the new members of the channel, thank you. Let's get to it. It's myself, John Rocha. What's up, John? How was your weekend?
How's it going, man? Good. Yeah. Full of stuff, full of football, full of movies. A good weekend overall. How about you?
Pretty good. We celebrated we had a bunch of friends went out on Saturday for the birthday celebration. Yeah, it was,
happy birthday, Chris.
Oh, thank you so much.
35. How does it feel?
That's
You're
right.
Almost 40.
That's right. We had a really good time. It was fun. It was a nice time. It was just chill and it was good. So my brother was in town. So but then the poor guy, he's got to get back to Florida, right into the thick of it right now. Yeah. And
Jesus, he went back, huh?
He did because of his animals and my dad and my mom and everything too. So he had to he's got a lot of responsibilities. It's funny because my sister-in-law was like, maybe we could stay. And then he's like, no, we got too much we got to do right now. And then it was
Stay out of the path.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's not fun. But we had a good time. Last night he cooked a sauce. It was great. It was great.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a good thing. But yeah, man, we'll talk about the Joker thing. We're gonna get into spoilers and we'll do all that. And I will say, last week, dude, nobody, even though both Steph and Mike and Winston and Coy, they put in a hell of a fight, but they didn't touch the champ. 131, I think you were 132 or something, whatever it was, 131, 132, whatever that was. Unbeaten for that week, so we'll see if you can do it again here today to set the week.
What I tell you?
I know. Once you actually started playing the game, it got dangerous. All right, here we go. Let's get into this first story here, John, because it's going to be a lot of this stuff that we're discussing with not only the the box office and all that, but it's the overall spoilers of the show, which I think is the movie, which I think is important to the conversation of why the movie ultimately just didn't do well. So here is the story itself first. Let's talk about this. And the Joker sequel does Morbius box office. Oof. Brutal. To even compare, to put it in comparison is brutal. There's going to be some heads rolling at Warner Brothers Pictures as Joker Folie a doo-doo following the film's disastrous domestic debut. The film was projected to take in around 120 million in mid-August. Those projections were getting lower and lower as we get closer to release. Early yesterday, those numbers suggested a 47 million start, but that was before the film plunged 45% from opening day on Saturday. Now, with the numbers in, the film is coming in with a domestic weekend debut of just 39 million. That's on par with the infamous Sony flop, Morbius. It's also one of the lowest sequel openings in memory to a major franchise film based on a comic book and staggeringly lower than its predecessor, which debuted to 96.2 million. Internationally, the news is relatively similar. The film pulled an 81.1 million in overseas markets, down considerably from the 140.5 debut of the first film. Fingers are being pointed. One strong suggestion being the film should not have gone to Venice and just opened on its own with reviews held until release. Then it could have seen a bigger debut. Outside of this film, The Wild Robot was in second with 18.7, drop of 48%. Beetlejuice was third again, 10.3 million, and has hit 400 million worldwide. Transformers 1 was fourth with 5.4, and Speak No Evil was 32.6. Lionsgate is continuing their streak of box office busts. White Bird debuted in 7th place, 1.53, while Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis is tracking for just 1 million in its second weekend. That's not too bad considering the first weekend did 4. It's not that, and it's not, at least it didn't drop in the into the the hundreds. Yeah, sure. So let's discuss. Let's start with this story with the Joker, because this is almost catastrophic, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm sure they had all kinds of plans for this one, and to have it come off this way, I mean, this is such this is Flash level of disappointment and shock, and just utterly like going like, what the hell happened here, and how could they make so many colossal mistakes with this film to have it turn out the way it turned out, and even more so compared to the first one. Like, it makes the first one even more of an anomaly than it already was, which is fascinating when you look at this kind of thing. And now there's videos coming out where people are posting lip reading subtitles to interactions that Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix had at Venice. And there were reports coming out that Joaquin apparently dragged Todd Phillips halfway through the screening, dragged him out of the theater to berate him for the film, basically saying that the film wasn't good and he knew it wasn't good. And so there's apparently all kinds of drama around that. So, man, this is like, it's such a colossal mess up by Warner Brothers at a time when they've been shaking already, Kristian, with a lot of their decisions,
Well, yeah, it's when the problem is when you're coming off of this major success, Oscar-winning performance from Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah,
it made $1 billion, didn't it, or close to it?
Yeah, billion.
It made over $1 billion. And I think that what happened, and this is where we're going to get into spoilers for people who haven't seen the movies, haven't seen the movie. I think that the studio gave notes. I think that the people got too loud in other people's ears about how you're glorifying this guy and making this guy a, and they went, you know what? Okay, well, we don't want it to do that. So what we're going to do this time, we're going to make Arthur. First of all, we'll totally negate the end of the movie when he kills the doctor.
Yeah,
it's the whole point of the movie. He kills
brutally.
That lets you know that one of two things. One, he is just so far gone. He is Joker now. Ain't no coming back. How are they going to figure this out in the second movie if they have one? That's part one. Or it's all going on in this guy's mind. And he doesn't know what the hell's happening, right? So both of those. Now, you get to, and they don't even address it, so the second part of the ladder might still been the option, but they don't address it. And it doesn't seem like that's the case because they pretty much admit that he did all the other murders. He killed his mom, he killed the people on the train, he killed De Niro, he killed the coworker, so that's all of that, but now he has stepped back from being the Joker, and he's Arthur again. And it's like, we saw that movie. And the way I said this on Capes and Cowls was that it's like what they did with John Boyega from The Force Awakens into Last Jedi. The Force Awakens, he's scared, he doesn't know what he wants to do, and then he's like, nope, I'm done with being scared. I'm gonna fight you, Kylo Ren, and now when the next movie comes, I'm there for Rey and I'm gonna be a badass. And then they just turn him back into who he was in the beginning of episode 7. They've done the same thing here. And that was one of the things, among others. What do you think about those points?
Yeah, I think you're 100% right, Kristian. The colossal mistakes here made not connecting the character arc from the first movie into the second movie. And look, they had an opportunity. The whole scene with him and Steve Coogan is the opportunity to connect the tissues and say, or connect the storylines rather, and say, wait, how did you get to this point? How did you go from a guy who was enjoying murdering all these people? You brutally killed this doctor, and now you're in this place where you're questioning if the Joker is an alternate personality. You're a bipolar person possibly, or you have schizophrenia. How did we get to here, right? And you have a lawyer the whole time who's just saying the society has messed him up and he's got mental issues, right? But that isn't strong enough. And to me, it's very similar to Multiverse of Madness. Wanda was already villainous in WandaVision with what she was doing by controlling people's minds and doing terrible things there against people's wills and stopping them from seeing their families. And then you go into Multiverse of Madness and she's still the same villain. It's like, wait, She learned the lesson at the end of WandaVision. Why is she doing this all over again? So to me, it's a colossal mess up to make those kinds of mistakes with storylines and with big name directors like Todd Phillips and Sam Raimi. So it's frustrating when you see it.
It makes the audience, it makes them feel like the audience is dumb. Because it's like, oh, they won't care. Well, of course they care. And it's like, well, you know what we want to do? We don't want to glorify this guy, so we're going to now put him back to where he was. You can't do that because that's not what you
castrate it.
It's not what you did in the first movie. And then I'm going to jump right to the end of this thing. Because the ending was the stupidest part of the whole movie. Because I wasn't hating the movie. There were some people who just hated it all the way through. I didn't, because I was like, the music itself. There were sometimes the music just didn't work, and it was distracting, and it went on too long. There are other times I'm like, okay, it's inside of his head. And this isn't even, maybe it's not inside. He's just singing a song because he's in love. He met this woman in this musical class. It's their way of coping. Okay, even though it's a bit silly that she lights the thing on fire and no one's paying attention to her go over there, light it on fire when she was apparently in there for arson, or maybe she wasn't. But if she'd put herself in there in the first place, I'll let it go, because we get to the end where for some reason he just decides he doesn't want to be Joker anymore, and he bails on it, and then she decides that she doesn't like him anymore. In the original, apparently there was another ending where she killed him and they shot this where
no way that happened.
Yeah, no way. And so she was singing up the stairs, and she became the one that would have caused people to lose their minds in general. But then he goes back to Arkham, and then this guy that they've been setting up the whole freaking movie, who's that guy? Enough close up on him that he kills him in the hallway, and then he's sitting on the front. It was so stupid, just staring at him like this. And then he cuts the Heath Ledger thing into his mouth, and he starts laughing like, oh, well, that's the real Joker. Pardon my French, but fuck you.
Yeah. And please, for the love of God, miss me with this nonsense that it's a commentary on. Yes, he alludes to it being a commentary on celebrity culture and on movements and on fallible leaders of movements. Because look, he didn't seek to become a leader of a movement. He stumbled into it at the end of the Joker, for sure. But like you said, Kristian, him killing that doctor is him accepting the movement, accepting where he's going. So this idea that now it's all too heavy, it's all too much, I don't want to be Joker anymore, it's not for me. And that,
and he never really was. He never really was, because this
really was right. And Lee, or Harley, whatever you want to call her for this movie, who is severely underwritten, all of a sudden turns her back on him, and just like it's just so. I get what Todd was trying to go for, and I get what these people are fabricating in their mind happened in the movie, but it didn't. The execution is where it failed, and that's where you walk away from this going, well, no, you didn't really make that strong of a point you thought you were going to make. And the overuse of the musical stuff, I liked it initially, and then it just became a crutch.
It was a gimmick. It was a gimmick after a little bit. And I think that what it felt like to me after a while, I said, oh, they got roped into doing a sequel because they made so much money. They didn't want to do it. The knocks were too loud on the door. And then they told him, do what you want to do. And Joaquin says, just kill me this time. Just kill me off sometime.
Right.
He doesn't care enough about the character. I mean, as far as like I don't want to say about the character in general, because I will say, I think for what he put into it, he wasn't half-assing the performance. The performance is great. I just think that what they did with the story and the overall is, yes, the first movie is radically different from the Joker that you know, but they got there in a way that was kind of unique, crazy, disturbing. And it was like, yeah, okay, fine. You want to kill him off, you want to do something, but you get him. But this guy has transcended into this lunatic by the end of the first one. Like, that's who people are going to see in that sequel, because you want to go, how does he get out? Does she make him escape? But the whole thing, then it's just the trial. I'll tell you my favorite scene in the whole movie, though. You want to guess it? I had one scene.
Gary Puddles.
Those Puddles was pretty good. That's a good scene. But no, the scene for me was the dream sequence when he was in, and it might have been a musical number 2, when he was in the courtroom and he's just malleting people with the. Because to me, I was like, okay, fine. You want to be in the musical. You want to see kind of him getting to that point where he is. That's the guy that we saw in the first one. And look, he doesn't have to win. as I said, because I think that's the misconception. It's like, well, you just want a lunatic to do this. He doesn't have to win. He just needs to be the same character that was set up in the first movie, and be like, well, we got too many notes, and this time the studio doesn't want it to be the bad guy wins. So because the bad guy does kind of win, if you look at the new Joker, he still wins, and poor Arthur is just such a sad sack anyway that he just is laying there and doesn't have the girl of his dreams anymore, and he just I don't understand what his point was anymore.
Well, that's the thing, and I think you hit on it a few minutes, and I'm sorry I haven't talked about it yet, but I think you're 100% right, and I said this in my non-spoiler review. It almost feels like an apology for the first movie.
Yes.
And it's frustrating, and not because we want incels to win. Don't be ignorant. It's more a matter of the fact that you set up the Joker to be this thing. And guess what? This thing actually exists in the world. How do you deal with this thing? How do you fight this thing? How do you counter this thing? And to me, that's where the magic of the second movie could have really existed in, is the ugly, uncomfortable truth that there are millions of people like this.
Right.
And so for you to present him as this flaccid guy who's questioning who he is and somehow trying to redeem him in some fucked up way and then end up killing him as if he's had some sort of redemption because he's accepted what he's done, I thought was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous, and undercut. You almost make fun of everybody who liked the first movie. Why kowtow to those people who completely misread the first movie and cried about it being an incel wet dream? He is a criminal throughout the movie.
Yeah, exactly. In the same way that Jordan Belfort in same thing.
Tony Soprano too. These are criminals. Michael Corleone. These are fucking criminals. Just because they're presented with charm doesn't mean they're not still criminals. And to the people who get sucked up into loving them, you don't have to cater to the people who love them in spite of their criminality.
It says if you're making a story that everyone responds to, and you look, and when I see that movie, which I loved that movie, right? The first one, and I look at it and I go, that is a really troubled, disturbed, bad dude who did some. He came. He could have. There are other people out there who have been put in situations that were challenged and all these things, and they decided they went a better route, and they took. They didn't take the maniacal easy way out. They went they had to figure it out. This guy snapped, lost his mind, and you're like, wow, that is how a madman was created. In the same way that when you're watching a Netflix doc on one of these lunatics, you don't go, ooh, that's something I want to do. You go, wow, how did that look at even the Vince McMahon stuff that we'll talk about, which is a different thing. You watch what Vince McMahon is doing. You don't go, you don't. The reason why people are watching that is not because, I want to be just like Vince. Now there are people like that, by the way. There are people out there going, oh, look what he did. I can be powerful like that too. And they're just as effed up as them. So, but it doesn't take away from it. You set up the movie. You gave us this movie. We responded to it the way we were going to respond to it. And then you said, no, it feels like, and someone said in the comment section, and I agree, this feels like the studio said, we have to do it different this time.
Yeah.
Mistake. Look, and the $40 million opening says, you effed up.
Yeah, and think about this also, Kristian. If you had gone the route of him accepting being this thing and being this maniac and psychopath and sociopath, then the scene with Puddles carries so much more weight.
Yes.
Because Puddles, in essence, says to him, you have become the thing that you hated. You have now allowed yourself, in a desperate bid to reclaim your life and have power, you have now become the thing that you hated. Now you are the one who is hurting other people. You are the one who is stepping on other people who are trying to just live in their life. You are now the bully. You are now the angry movement destroying people and hurting people. Is this what you want to represent? Then that back and forth would have
so much more.
Even more power.
If it was the opening, if it was the opening of the movie, if you have one or two scenes that's the musical number, then you're like, oh, it's not. No one to say it's a musical. You go, there were two crazy numbers. Like even the opening, I didn't mind. Like when with the animation when he did that, because they didn't even go back to that shadow thing. They didn't even go. They just kind of visited once. I said, oh, is that what the movie's going to be? But if they started it out with that puddle scene, like, that's the first scene, and then the thing blows up, and then he's got to be figuring out how to be the Joker on the street doing this version of it. And what you could do if you were Warner Brothers is say, all right, you know what we can't have is he just can't be the only one that is in the front. We've got to have someone that either takes him out. We got to have somebody good to root for this time. That's a different conversation. If you're going to have someone good to root for this time and someone who's ultimately maybe challenged, maybe like a Donnie Brasco type character, a guy who is absolutely challenge, and a guy who is not totally a good guy and gets sucked into it, has to take down the Joker, whatever it might be. That's the stupid version of it, but there's so many ways that you could have done it that you didn't hurt it. And by the way, there's a revised number that just came out for the opening. 37.8 is what it did. That is they said in the article, people are going to have to pay for this at Warner Brothers.
Yeah, and you could have even set up, if you really want to destroy the incel thing, you could have had Harley be the hero of the movie and have her, because remember, the thing is that she possibly checked herself into Arkham, and maybe she did it because she wanted to destroy Joker for what he had done. Maybe someone he had killed, something, the riots had killed her family. So in essence, she blames him for what happened.
Right.
So she's in there to maneuver and manipulate herself into a position to kill him. So when she kills him at the end with That's Entertainment, that could have carried so much more weight, which was one of the possible alternate endings. Right. That would have carried even more weight. But of course, the men would have lost their minds that a strong woman killed their incel hero, some men rather. So, but I think that could have been a much more interesting, complex film that asked questions of you and ask questions of our society like the first one did. So
I think and if you're going to do it this way, this is very similar to our conversation about The Acolyte, where you're going to say, if you have a certain, and I actually think The Acolyte had more of a case to say, well, we know who we're going after for this show, who our audience is.
Yes.
And then it's on the executives to say, well, okay, fine, we're giving you 40 million instead of 230 million, right? But this, well, who's your audience? The same audience as last time. Bullshit. It isn't. And then, well, how much do you need this time, Todd? 200 million. Who's making these decisions? Plus the fact, and it said it in the article, which I agree, screening it in Venice was a big mistake.
Oh, yeah.
Huge mistake. This is one of those things where they screened it first at Venice, got bad buzz, and then what they did is they screened it, because I was talking about this the other day. Warner Brothers has done this thing now where they put, and I don't necessarily, even though we're on the other side of it, I kind of understand the argument of they put more value in the influencer and fan screenings first before people who are, the traditional press, if you will. Right. So even yourself, you went, and you're not the only person to do this. There's tons of people who wanted to get their reactions out first. They went and saw a fan screening because the press. Yeah.
There was only 15 people in my fan screening when I went, an IMAX,
in fan screening. And then, but what backfired is the fans went, PU.
Yes.
And they wanted, and Beetlejuice was the opposite. They got the fans in there to see it first, and the fans went, this is great. And then the critics went, no, it's not. And they said, shut up, critics. But this time, everybody agreed, $37 million opening. Oops.
And what's crazy is that Joaquin should absolutely be in consideration.
I'm digging how you're saying his name today, by the way. Joaquin
should absolutely be in consideration for a Best Actor nomination.
Really?
Incredible throughout the movie.
Okay.
The movie itself maybe wasn't great, but he himself, his performance, I mean, first of all, getting so emaciated, he's on Christian Bale machinist level. It was insane. But then the way he navigates the journey that they're telling, whether the journey works or not overall, ultimately, for what had happened in the previous movie, that's a separate conversation we had. But the performance, I think, is incredible. And I see some people going like, Gaga should get nominated. It's an underwritten role. There wasn't enough for her to do, I think, to be nominated. But certainly Joaquin was incredible throughout the movie in the interactions and the things he did in the film that I thought were
he was good.
Very powerful.
He was good. And he I never felt like anybody in the movie was phoning it in, right?
No.
And, and then the other scene is that I think was excessive and not necessary was when the guards take him into the bathroom and they hint that it's a kind of an assault, but it's like, why? Because you want to make it feel like Shawshank all of a sudden? What? And then Brendan Gleeson was singing when the Saints come marching in the whole time, and then I guess it's the whole thing is that they turn it around on him at the end. They start singing it, but even it's like little things like that drive me crazy. Like there's one scene where Joaquin jumps up on the table after one of the trials, and he's still in Joker mode, and he jumps up on the tables. The guards don't do anything to him. They let him do it, and then another guy jumps up, and they go after him, and they go, "Get off that table!" And another guy comes, they go, "Get off that table!" Meanwhile, Joaquin's just standing there. I was like, "Why don't you get the guy that started jumping on the table?" What do you? It's like little things like that where I'm like, "What are we doing?" It's like I didn't understand. I didn't understand how this movie could have been so good. And a broken record, John. You make this movie for $60 or $70 million.
Oh, 100%.
That's it.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Even Catherine Keener, right, Kristian? Like, what?
She was good. But what's her point?
What's the point of that role?
Yes.
Why did she take the case? What's the interest in here? Why is she trying to? And then once he fires her, why doesn't if all you were leading up to was her being fired by the Joker in the court? What was the point of all that? And the judge is going to let the Joker get away with all this stuff. That's the thing that it becomes like just too much suspension of disbelief when you're watching it. And again, I want to go back to this because I can see some people probably, because I can't see the comments, but I've seen people say, oh, it's a commentary about how society treats the mentally ill and how prison systems aren't set up to help them. Yes, we all fucking know that.
Yeah. I don't think there's many people fighting for this movie, though, dude.
Yeah.
I don't think there's many people fighting for this movie. I think that there are people who are going to make some kind of an argument for it, but I don't think there's a lot of people fighting for it because it seems like most people are just like, what'd you guys do? You had it. It's like like they had it and then they just dropped the ball. It's like the Mets. The Mets had the Phillies. They had the rights last night. Didn't do it. But
Todd Phillips got to answer some questions on this one.
And I wonder if those questions would be like, hey, we had an idea of what we wanted to do. I got a lot of notes from Warner Brothers. So I changed some stuff up. But I do think more so what it was is that this is what happens when a movie makes $1 billion. They say, well, director knows what he's doing. Star knows what he's doing. Here you go. Here's your $200 million. Go do it. Bring us back $1 billion. And him and Joaquin go, this is the last one we're doing. We got paid. We make $1 billion. Great. Good for us. If not going to hurt you at all, Joaquin. Not going to hurt Lady Gaga. It might hurt Todd Phillips. It might hurt him on this one.
I think
this big of a loss might hurt him because he was coming off of a big win on that $1 billion. But the thing, at least if it would have just cracked even, but this is going to be a big loss, John.
Well, I mean, if you look at Todd Phillips' resume, he's not really good with sequels.
Terrible with sequels.
So maybe next time, Todd, don't do the sequel. Hand it off to another director while you executive produce it and let them bring it to life. I mean, it would have been really interesting to do Joker 2 with a different director and see where they would have taken it and taken this character. But maybe Joaquin wouldn't have come back if it wasn't under Todd's.
I think that's what he said.
Because that led him to an Oscar and whatever. So, yeah, but still. Yeah, don't do any more sequels, Todd. That being said, I'll say this, man. I think, directors fail all the time.
Sure.
Certainly if you make $1 billion, great. I mean, look at Ridley's. I mean, it's hit or miss with Ridley all the time. People love Ridley Scott so much. So it's a matter of like, okay, what are you going to do next? How are you going to
bounce back?
Kind of redeem yourself. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, this business is... They love you when they love you, and they hate you when they hate you. And it's always, and I say this because I'm not even there anymore, but the Hollywood is what have you done for me lately town. That's always been like that. So it's like, oh yeah, but look what he did a couple years ago. Yeah, but look what he did with Joker 2. And now he's got to climb back out of the hole. They do give you a chance to, if you do 2 of them, you're in big trouble. I don't understand how, what's his name? Rupert, who is, I always get him confused. Everett and Wyatt, right? The one who did the Snow White one. Who did did Crow. Well, that guy. Yeah. How he keeps getting work, I have no idea how that guy keeps getting work. He hasn't had it. You and I have directed more hits than him.
Come on stage at least, for God's sake. Nonsense.
So, but some people just...
Rupert Sanders.
Oh, it's Rupert Sanders? Is that Rupert Sanders?
He did the Crow and Snow White. And
okay, Rupert Sanders.
And the Ghost in the Shell one that was whitewashed.
Right. So that movie, it doesn't matter what it was washed. It was washed with poop. Because it was terrible, and everything else is terrible. And so he's good in the room, I guess.
Maybe.
Yeah, who knows? Another movie cost $80 million. This is stupid. But the Crow, the Joker, all these are movies that are just not performing, and I can't believe it because we all thought. I mean, Joker was one of my most highly anticipated. There was a great trailer. They cut a great trailer out of that first one.
Man.
But
top 5. It was top 5 for me.
Yeah. And what did they do overall with this? Because if you look at it, like I said, I went and I watched it, and because I had heard, I went and I did see it at the press screening, so I'm already coming off of like, I saw your thing, I saw everybody's. I'm like, really? Okay, let's see. And I'm watching it, and I'm like, look, I don't. This movie's fine so far. And I said to myself, it depends on how it ends. If this movie ends real strong, then they have a chance to make it all kind of interweave, and then boom, hit you at the end. Yeah. Strong ending. Maybe it's a strong film. It was not a strong ending. It was a terrible ending. And it made everything else that much worse. It was like Rocky fighting Tommy Morrison in the street instead of the ring. Fight it. Yeah.
Lindley loved the first movie. She loved Joker, the first movie. She thought it was really interesting and what the commentary it was making. So she was excited to see this one. And like you, Kristian, the first 2 parts of the movie, we were kind of curious and interested in seeing where it's going to lead to. And then that third part happens, and by the end, we're both looking at each other. She looks at me as the credits are going, and she goes, "Are you sitting here because you think there's a post-credit scene? There's no post-credit scene, babe. This is the ending, and you got to deal with it." And we walked out. So yeah,
totally right. Yeah, because there's nothing to it. It was like, no, we did what we did. This is our movie. Take it or leave it. And people left it. People left it. $37 million for an opening weekend for that. People are going to get in trouble for that one, and rightfully so. It's like the decisions need to be, because this is a different thing though. Because I will say this, even though it's $200 million, which I think is too much.
Yeah,
I understand when a movie makes $1 billion and they go, "Hey, last one made $1 billion. People love it. They're going to do a lot of the same thing, and let's go for it."
Yeah, of course.
I get it. I still think it's a mistake, but I get it more so than just something out of the gate and giving $200 million for it, because they're like, okay, the first one made $1 billion, but it's the same conversation of these other movies that hit $2 billion or hit $1 billion before 2020. It's a different time. It's a different time.
Kristian, after Dune Part 2 and after Godzilla, which overperformed, right? Mm-hmm. Challengers underperformed. Furiosa underperformed. The Watchers underperformed. Horizon underperformed. Twisters was a surprise hit. Trap underperformed. Blink Twice isn't doing well. Beetlejuice did well. And then you have Joker Folie Do, which has fallen apart. So, like, this is a tough year for Warner Brothers.
Was Twisters Warner Brothers?
Yeah.
Really?
It was distributed. It's international distribution only. Sorry, it's co-production with Universal Pictures, but it's listed under that.
Right, but it's so even right, the one like modest hit that they have isn't even theirs. They've had some losses. They've had some losses this time around, and I think it's decisions, and maybe it changes differently, and maybe this is one of the reasons they're putting. So like this is why they should not get involved. Just let Gunn do his thing. And if his first movie doesn't work, then try to get involved. But they're already talking about Zoloft getting involved by saying, "Hey, man, we like Pattinson. Put him in there. Put him in there." It's like, oh no, we want to see more Pattinson, but not if Gunn doesn't think he should be the DCU Batman. I don't know. And that was the other thing, is that at one point they were. I remember after the first Joker came out, I was like wondering if this could combine into a connected universe, and I think it's like, no, this is obviously the last time we'll ever see Joaquin Phoenix. Obviously, there was spin-off talk of Gaga as Harley Quinn. That will never happen, and it has nothing to do with her. I thought she was great in the role.
Yeah.
I thought she was great, but
underwritten role, she did fine. I agree.
No, wasn't it you though saying like the roles that she's taking, their agents, she got bad agents, man.
I'm concerned because she is getting really good as an actress. Look, people are like, oh, she's great. No, Star is Born. She's still figuring it out as an actor, and you're watching it as an actor, watching an actor. You can see the beats, regardless if you're good or not. If you're remotely decent at being an actor, you can see the beats. And so, but then when she got to House of Gucci, which also underperformed, by the way, and was a disappointment, you see her growing more confident. This is a film where she understood how to play the really quiet moments. And she was able to go through multiple emotions in scenes in micro ways that show you she is becoming a very good actress. Of course, she could bring emotion to her music, but to the screen, as Madonna will show you, is a whole different thing.
Yeah.
And I thought she has become really great. It's just a shame that these two really high-profile films, House of Gucci and Joker, have both underperformed, which to me featured damn good performances from her.
Yeah, I don't think she should be judged on it. I mean, it is.
I agree.
It is also one of those, and I think that the catch-22 is that, as we've talked about many times over, that there's not really a lot of actors that put butts in seats in the way that they did years ago, right? It elevates, it helps a movie. If they're like, well, who's in it? Oh, so-and-so's in it. Great, but what's it about? That's usually the question, as in back in the day. Well, the new Will Smith movie's coming out. The new Tom Cruise movie's coming out. The new whoever is coming out. The new Julia Roberts movie is coming out. And people would just go see it because that person was a movie star. Well, now it's more about, the thing that they're in. So I hope it's one of these things that doesn't happen where studios are like, well, the last couple things she was in haven't performed very well. It's Lady Gaga. She's very good. And she's very talented. And I thought the two of them were engaging. The whole time I was saying, oh man, I wish this was a different story.
Yeah.
I wish this was a different story. So I don't know. I mean, is there anything else spoiler wise that we can really tab? We hit the ending. We hit like the stuff that I think go ahead.
I think the mistake of bringing Harvey Dent into the movie when you weren't going to do any
Harvey Dent? You mean an 18-year-old Harvey Dent? Who was that guy?
Yeah. So such a mistake on so many levels. I mean, that's a big character. You don't just bring him in happenstance. And I just thought that was super frustrating to not give any backstory to Harvey Dent and why he is determined to take down the Joker and make him pay for his crimes. And look, I get it. Simplistically, he's a DA and it's his job. Yawn. Give me something interesting about this guy for why he's so fervently going after the Joker. Is it to, for his career? Is he being part of the system that's trying to destroy a mentally ill person? Like, there's a lot more that could have been explored here again with another notable character from the Batman universe that they just kind of brushed over.
Well, look at the way they did it with Thomas Wayne in the first one, right?
Right.
I thought they did that. It was interesting on how they did that with the hinting of he thinks that he's the kid, but he's not really his kid, but he's so warped that he is. And she's like, get the hell out of here. And like the way that they made all that play, that was like so sad and yet, disturbing. And you get to see young Bruce and all this stuff and the way that
a younger Alfred, which I thought was great.
Right. And they played it. This almost seems so detached. They're like, we got to make it seem like it. All right, well, put Harvey Dent in there. Well, okay, and you know what we're going to do sometimes? Sometimes we're going to call it Gotham, and sometimes we'll call it New York. Why? Yeah. Well, because. Oh, okay. Did you notice that? Sometimes they call it New York, and sometimes they call it Gotham. Well, what is it? Which one is it?
I leaned over, and I was like, wait, what?
What is it? It's New York, it's Gotham, the people in New York. Is it because Gotham's a part of New York, the state? Yeah. Is that what it's supposed to be? When was that a thing? It's like, no, it's supposed to be a different... It's just disappointing, man. It does get worse and worse the more you think about it. So, anyway, we got more to talk about. I'm very curious what you guys think about here with all your thoughts, spoilers. Put them in the comments. Put them in the live chat. John is already at 25 questions, trying to hit his 132 from last week. But he's setting the bar, as he always does on Monday, to see if everybody else can catch him. But right now, he's at 25. Before we move on, I got two things I wanted to talk to you about right now. And I've mentioned to you beforehand. I'm going to mention to you again. Oh man, Tushy. That's right, Tushy. You guys love me talking about Tushy, and I understand because Tushy is the best. This. I was so excited when we had gotten them in the first place. The old Tushy, because have you gotten one of these yet, John?
I'm on the way of getting to.
Okay, we're starting to slowly convince you. Who was just telling me? Oh, you know what? Matt Serra wants one of these.
Does he?
Oh man, he's like, you got to get me one of those Tushies, Harloff. And I was like, all right. So it is. It really is. It is so wonderful. And if you don't have one, you really should get one because I got one and I just love how it makes me feel classy. That's good. But it's also it is just like easily attaches to the toilet. You don't need the additional plumbing or electricity. Just installation is pretty simple. It took me like 8 minutes to do it.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty easy. Because toilet paper, it smears it smears the matter around. Yeah, that stinks literally. But with the Tushy's bidet, the nozzle adjuster, you get a precise clean every time. Each Tushy bidet attachment, it comes with a nozzle adjuster to find the best angle for the most precise clean of your life. That's right. It's great, man. Every Hello Tushy bidet comes with a 30-day hassle-free return and 12-month warranty. So it's time to ditch toilet paper and finally feel shower fresh with Hello Tushy. So for a limited time, our listeners will get 10% off their first bidet order when you use the code BIGTHING at checkout. That's 10% off your first order with HelloTushy.com. You got to use that code BIGTHING. And there's something else I got to tell you about. I've been telling you guys on and on and on about Built. Now, Built, I want you guys to take advantage of this. I've been telling you to take advantage of it. Take advantage of Built. It is really, really important because we've all felt like we're burning cash with rent checks, and I know how frustrating it is, but Built Rewards has figured out a way to make rent more rewarding. You say goodbye to the money bonfire and hello to a renter's revolution with Built. But it's so great that it's got a neighborhood rewards program. It hooks you up with your points on rent, and every month you can pay your rent and watch the Built points roll in. You can use points to jet off on a dream vacation. You could put points toward a flight or hotel stay with 500 plus airlines, 700,000 hotels, and properties. You can use points to book fitness studio classes, redeem them towards a future rent payment. They're designed to meet your lifestyle. So if you want to earn points by paying rent right now, you go to joinbuilt.com/bigthing. Join Built, BILT.com/bigthing. Make sure you use our URL so they know that we sent you. That's joinbuilt.com/bigthing. Start earning points with your rent payments today. And I tell you to go and to check these things out. And I try to get you guys deals. That's when people come to me and they go, hey, we're thinking about doing stuff on the show. I say, well, my audience like it. And when we first had Built, people were signing up to it. Make sure you go and check it out. And click those links. Browse around. That helps the show. It helps you. All right, John, we got more stuff here to discuss. Okay. And
let's do it.
I get so bummed right now with the way that these things are working out for us, because I want to have a story where I'm like, listen to this, great news. And this could have been that great news. This could have been that, oh my God, they're finally doing it. But this is more of a skeptical thing, and I'm not going to speak for you. You might feel differently. But we've got Ewan McGregor, who said that more Obi-Wan is being explored. So let's see what this. I think this is at LA Comic-Con this week. Hey, there I am. Earlier this year, Ewan McGregor said he's up for more appearances as Jedi Knight Obi-Wan Kenobi, following reprising his role from the prequel trilogy in the series in 2022. That series took place approximately 9 years before the events of the original Star Wars movie, which leaves plenty of time for McGregor's character to have interactions on and off Tatooine. In April, McGregor said there's been no phone calls to me from Lucasfilm or Disney saying, let's do another one, before reiterating it was designed as a limited series. That said, he added, I'm sure we'll do more. Cut to this weekend, and McGregor appeared at LA Comic-Con, participating in a Q&A with fans, and reported confirmed the studio is currently exploring ideas for a follow-up. The actor is reportedly said to have revealed the desire to wear Obi-Wan's Clone Wars armor to reunite with Hayden Christensen. The crowd understandably went wild. McGregor scored acclaim for his return to the role, even as the reaction to the series itself was a bit more mixed, albeit still mostly positive. Time is on their side. McGregor, currently 53, comes 9 years younger than Alec Guinness was when he shot the original Star Wars. The news comes as Star Wars on Disney is rumored to be scaling back on one live-action series a year, with the second and final season of Andor expected to be that title in 2025, and the second season of Ahsoka likely in 2026. There's also a Lando project in development, so it's not clear when it might go forward. Okay. So what I will say, what I don't want to do is just lead with the fact of, sure, but we have the same team that's running this, so what's going to change differently, right? Okay. I want to go the optimistic route here. And I want to say, okay, you know what? Let's look at it maybe, and let's say Andor has gotten different kind of responses than our other shows have been getting. Mm-hmm. There has been mentioned the people that wanted to see a more Andor-like, more mature, well-written series of Obi-Wan that we didn't really do. Let's do that for the second one, and let's do it for Clone Wars. If they do that, if they get Hayden, they get him, and they do a little bit more, and they really combine that, they could really have something special and redeem that season, and you hope for it. However, I do feel that Filoni is their own worst enemy when it comes to this, because I think he's just going to make another animated series come to life, which the animated series are great, but it doesn't play in live action.
Yeah. What do you do? Like, do you ignore the Reva storyline? Do you ever come back for one or two?
There's no reason to. There's no reason to.
I know. Well,
what's the reason
I know
for it?
There isn't a reason, but yeah, I mean, to me, I there's a lot of lessons I think they're learning from what had happened over the last few years, and I don't mean going the diversity route. It's more a matter of going the quality route, and so there's now a matter of like, okay, we see what's happening. How do we fix this thing? That's what I hope is happening. These discussions behind the scenes, because they've taken too many L's. No matter how much they try to lie to themselves, they've taken too many L's here recently. So you've got to reevaluate things. I think another Kenobi series would be a lot of fun, especially with the way that one ended with Qui-Gon coming in. And so now we've got that as a possibility. All right. But now you start messing around with Vader, right? And this is where it becomes dangerous. The fans certainly want to circle jerk and get excited about Obi-Wan seeing Vader again or having interactions. But now you start messing with something that is kind of precious to a lot of Star Wars fans, and that is the separation between Kenobi and Vader that led to what happens in A New Hope.
Right.
If you start to have them constantly seeing each other in different ways, I think there's going to be issues. And so the idea of bringing back Christensen, flashbacks, certainly, that's a lot of fun. Seeing it live action.
Clone Wars. Like, what if they did a Clone Wars series? Like, they'd have to de-age them, obviously.
Yeah.
But
well, fine, do that, but then it's not a season 2, is it? Because then it's a completely different season.
Well, it wouldn't be. I don't know if he necessarily said even a season 2. I think he just said reteaming them. Like,
something.
Something of them teaming back and doing, and maybe. And look, you could do a season 2 if you just call it Obi-Wan. It's like almost like an anthology thing that you're doing, but it's still Obi-Wan.
He could like Kung Fu, where he's going into different.
Yeah, I think that would be the better way to do it. And when you listen to, where. That's the problem is they dropped the ball with Vader. They dropped the ball with him because and this is even the original screenwriter from the movie had said this. His whole basis of why he did the film and the story itself was the thing that I was saying back on Jedi Council. I was like, people are like, why would you have Vader? I remember arguing with Campy about this. Like, why would you have Vader in there? It makes no sense. I said it makes all the sense in the world because of Return of the Jedi. He says Obi-Wan once felt as you did, and you never saw that. He's like, when did you see it? And Sith? No, you never saw it. You never saw him try to get him back. And even in the new series, you didn't really even see to try him. That's what the whole basis should have been. No other Inquisitors, nobody else. It's just this guy who is just tortured by the idea that his friend, his mentor, and he failed as a freaking mentor, and now he's got to guard this kid, and he's obsessed with guarding the kid until he finds out that his friend is still alive. And in his head, he goes, wait a minute. Not only I can reunite him with his kid, I can get him back, I can go and do this, I'm going to bring him back. There's still good in him. I can feel it. And then he goes, and then he's more machine now than man. And it all makes sense, but they didn't do that. And I don't understand how they didn't do that. That's why I'm saying I don't think Filoni's as good as everybody thinks he is. Because if he's the guy, how does he not say, this is what we should do? If a stupid ass like me is thinking that and other people are thinking that, come on, man. Like that's a no-brainer. You would have had people losing their minds in a story like that. But I don't know why they need to change things up. In the same way with Joker. Why'd you change it up? Just go with what's working.
Yeah, sometimes being creatively bold is actually going with the thing that's working and enjoying what's happening and taking the criticism from the really loud progressive voices in the fandom. Because guess what? It's working. And that's a good thing for you as a business. And you're creating content that millions and millions of people want to
watch.
And the millions. And it doesn't mean that there isn't legitimate criticism. Certainly, I've been on that side of some of the stuff. But there's a way to do it that you understand the criticism, but then you work within what you've got and make it happen. Filoni bringing in little Leia and bringing in Reva. I thought Reva was a good character, completely unnecessary in the Kenobi series. Little Leia was cool. I love the idea of it. Completely unnecessary in the Kenobi series. This is about Obi-Wan and Vader. Give the fans what they want. Exist in that realm. Make it happen in that way. And I think people would have come out of that series loving it so much more than they did. And I know there are some people who really love it. Laura Kelly on the Star Wars shows, on our Star Wars shows, loves the Kenobi series. So, but there's an opportunity to do so much more with these two guys battling, and then you'd hear from the progress. Oh, great, we got to watch two white men battle it out. Who cares?
That's who it's set up. Those are the characters.
Let them have. This is what people want to see, and they've loved, and so give them what they want. You know,
and you can bring in new characters that aren't white. You could do a Jedi. You can do other things, but you have to make it center around the core of the story that people care about, right? Yeah. And I think that it just, like I said, I just don't know. I agree with that article and everybody else. Ewan McGregor, if he's going to come back, that's the one reason I go, okay, give him another shot, because he's so damn good in it.
I agree.
He's so damn good in it, and he loves playing the role. And if you can see him and Hayden Christensen together again, doing something together, if it works. But I'm with you, though. I think that they had their opportunity to redeem that story with Vader, or continue it and make it seem as it goes into Jedi, and they blew it. So now you got to just do stuff where he's protecting Luke, and make it the story where he's protecting Luke.
I set you up and you blew it.
You blew 100%. They did. They absolutely. That was about as slam dunk as it gets. And where in the world, though? How do you justify, and I get it, and this was during COVID, by the way, but how do you justify that series costs, what, $80 million or whatever it did? And then you get a $230 might have been $230 million stink bomb in the accolades. How do you justify that? Like this is a slam dunk where they should have done real locations and waited for, I don't know. But either way, hopefully they redesign things and they kind of maneuver around. Look, Marvel's been doing that, they've been trying to maneuver, but I saw you tweet something out, and then I saw an article of what you were talking about. I seem to be on the same page as you.
Oh my God.
Nah, but with this one, but let's read it.
Okay.
Sam Raimi could potentially direct Doctor Strange 3. Filmmaker Sam Raimi is returning to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Jeff, the Snyder is reporting that Marvel Studios has all but closed a deal that will see Sam Raimi return as a director of a third Doctor Strange film. Raimi, who directed the original Spider-Man trilogy at Sony, joined the MCU with 2022's Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Raimi replaced Scott Derrickson, who directed the first and steered the sequel to a nearly $1 billion gross, making it one of the studio's biggest post-Endgame success stories aside from Deadpool and Wolverine and Spider-Man No Way Home. No other details are given about the third film or where it would go into production, but it could quite possibly serve as one of the films opening between or just after the next two Avenger entries, along with the fourth Spider-Man. The second film had an end credit sequence, including Clea, played by Charlize Theron. It's not clear if she'll return at this point. John, you hate this. Why?
I hate this because Sam Raimi is a dated filmmaker. And look, I know a lot of people talk about how nice of a guy he is. So I'm trying to separate the man from the work, right? Everybody talks about, Scott Derrickson tweeted out how nice of a guy he is. Rumors are that Rachel McAdams is going to be the star of the new horror film he's doing. I think all the thing I hear about Sam is that he's a really nice guy. So all respect to Sam Raimi. But that Multiverse of Madness was a crock of shit. I absolutely hated that movie. I've seen it 3 times now. Oof. It's almost in BVS territory where I just hate watch it for how bad it is. And I just don't get what people love about Dutch angles, Bruce Campbell being in the MCU, the ridiculous 90s approach to filmmaking that we've moved past. And it's just so utterly frustrating. And the insult of that story essentially repeating what we'd already seen in WandaVision, because Michael Waldron didn't bother to watch the series and neither did Raimi. And so it's just massively frustrating that they're going to give him another shot. And I saw people responding going, well, that's the fault of the writers and the producers and Feige, as if Sam Raimi is like a hired kid out of college that isn't going to have his own opinion on shit and hasn't worked in franchises like, I don't know, his own Evil Dead and Spider-Man, and understands how to get what he needs out of the situation, and said he had creative control over that movie. Yeah. So to me, it's not the right filmmaker. I hated what he did with Doctor Strange. Please, for the love of God, bring back Scott Derrickson. That was a damn good Doctor Strange movie. This is going to be another one of those yuck fests with Dutch angles and underwritten characters, underdeveloped plot ideas, and that goes nowhere. And it's so frustrating. I don't want to see it again, man.
I'm with you. I'm with everything you said, but the difference is this, as you and I both know, money talks, right? In the same way that I can tell you that I don't want to ever see Michael Bay anywhere near a Transformers movie. But you, every time I bring that up, what do you say? You go like this, right?
Hey, it made almost $5 billion.
Right.
You know?
Now, this movie, the first one, made almost $1 billion. And don't forget, Kevin Feige loves Sam Raimi. Loves him. Looks up to him, worked on the Spider-Man films. Like, he loves him. He loves him. He's like, and he just, the fact that there are Raimi heads out there. Kevin Feige is a Raimi head. So if Kevin Feige is a Raimi head and Sam Raimi is bringing in money, it doesn't matter if you and I felt everything that you said about the movie. I agree with you. I felt like it was just a dated way of making movies, but and it wasn't, to be fair, WandaVision wasn't done at the time for them to watch it, but the scripts were done. They could have paid attention to looking at the scripts, going, "Oh, is this what happens? Let's make it happen." But during that time, they were, it was what's his name. Bob Chapek, who was making them do a billion different things, and Feige's bouncing back and forth, and he goes, "Well, I know I can give it to Raimi, and I'll get a solid movie. I'm out of here. I got to go work on 87 different shows." So this time around, when it connects a little bit more, maybe they'll do something. But I'll tell you, you know what I would have really liked to see, even though I don't disagree with you. I'm not the biggest Raimi guy.
Yeah,
but I would have loved to see him do a Tobey Spider-Man movie, another one.
Another one,
right?
Sure.
Like to do,
I 100% be down with that.
It would be great if he was actually going to do and continue, and if he was doing the one with Toby and Andrew, and not an MCU one, like a separate kind of Sony one or whatever it might be. Then I don't want to. I mean, I'm so glad he's not doing. There was rumors that he was doing the Avengers movies. I'm so glad he's not doing those. If he's going to do this one though, Doctor Strange does fit in his wheelhouse for his style and the things that he does. It's not the kind of Doctor Strange that you and I want to see, but clearly, look, I'm telling you, I took my friend with me to see it, and we were just on. He's a big Raimi guy. He was like, he looked like a kid that just went to Disney World. Yeah. People who love Raimi love that movie. And
JT loves this idea.
Right,
it's frustrating.
Right, and there are people. So you understand the business decision behind it. It just, it is one of those things where it doesn't get me excited because I'm just not a Raimi guy, and you're not a Raimi guy.
But didn't we just talk about this? Like, Todd Phillips made $1 billion, so therefore he should jump into this situation, get to do another Joker movie, right? And he did, and look what happened. Taika Waititi made Thor Ragnarok, such a great middle, and then got to do Love and Thunder. How'd that work out? So, and Feige was more hands-off with Waititi for Love and Thunder.
You're saying this is going to be even more Raimi than the last one. Right.
This could be more Raimi, and Feige's even going to be less hands-on.
Right.
Because that one made $975
million. That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah,
and
it's a real good point.
He's too much a fan of Raimi to let him direct the movie. He's not going to be able to curtail him.
No, he's going to say, do your own thing, and look at, and we have different opinions on these movies, but I don't think you would argue that Batman Returns is far more Burton than Batman 89.
Yeah, agreed.
And to me, that's what I didn't like about it. It was more of a Burton movie than it was a Batman movie. The Batman 89,
I like that, but yes,
yeah, right. Well, that's and that is the point. Right? And those people who want to see, I want to see, because they might just be bored to tears with the way that the Marvel stuff goes. And like, well, Raimi brings something fresh to it. Raimi brings that style to it. I like Raimi's style. So I understand it. I don't like it, but I understand it.
He's being fresh by bringing a 3 decades old style to the movie making. Okay, sure.
You know what I mean, though?
Of course.
Yeah, that's how they feel. So,
but if it crashes and burns, all you Raimi heads got to take it. And take it hard.
Oh no, they'll blame it. They'll blame it right now. No, they'll blame it on.
What it is?
No, they'll blame it on the studio. That's what. Anything, no matter what studio, any studio, whether it's Universal, Disney, Warner Brothers, when the movie does really well, nobody mentions them. When they bomb, it's their fault. Every time. And I'm not saying that it isn't a lot of the times, but you never see like, good on Warner Brothers for doing that. That's amazing. Good on Disney for making $1 billion with Endgame. They go, no. Disney's ruining it all. Warner Brothers just dropped the ball again.
They're supposed to make $1 billion.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Right. So, anyway, let's go. I think we've got one more story here before we get into the questions, because you're at 35 questions right now, John. Good start.
Only 35. Wow, I'm not going to win the week with only 35.
You might get. I mean, you'd have to get to another 100 in order to break your record. But I don't know. That's not going to happen today. I don't think. But you set the week off still pretty damn good. All right. So let's get to our next subject here, and I think it's our last one for the day at the moment. This one I saw. There was a lot of different stories, but this one, to me, because as I was mentioning to you, John, over the weekend, I had my birthday thing, and Matt Serra came to it, and we got a chance to meet his. Well, I've met his wife before, but really get to hang out. The sweetest person you will ever meet, and she's a fighter now. She was imagine if Adrian from Rocky, after Rocky 2, decided she wanted to fight. Right?
Wow.
That is Matt's way. And just I love the both of them so much. Okay. They're just great people. And we were talking, and what was the best is my brother was placing a bet on some stuff, and I was like, well, I want to get Matt's opinion on just in general, like what he thinks. I didn't ask him to help me with bets, but I was just like, going over the card that was going on. He gave me picks, and as his picks, and as he was going through it, I didn't tell him I was going to bet on anything. And as I'm looking at it, I'm going, oh, okay, Matt has said these three. So what did I do? I told my brother, I go, that's the one. These are the ones Matt thinks are going to win. Bet the underdog who he didn't pick because it's 1,100. And of course, I lost. But it was like, and all of Matt's picks were the right ones. Wow. But anyway, the reason I bring that up is that we were talking about UFC, a UFC legend. We were talking about just Sarah. And this, did you see this story about Zack Snyder?
Yes, that he's directing a UFC film or
planning one. He's planning a UFC film.
Yeah.
And so back in July, while promoting the director's cut release of his Rebel Moon movies, Zack Snyder revealed his next film was likely to be a smaller scale and shy away from VFX. The aim was to do something different before he gets back to his usual big-budget action fare. Now, World of Real reports the project in question is going to be set in the world of the UFC. They indicate the film, which isn't at Netflix, will be Snyder's next, and he co-wrote the screenplay with King Richard's scribe, Zach Baylin. The project is reportedly planned as a theatrical film, with the UFC reportedly being directly involved. Location filming will include Las Vegas and Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. They also indicate that Adam Driver has been approached for the lead role, but nothing more than that as it's early for casting. Driver's schedule is fairly clear for now, bar his rumored involvement with Heat 2. If accurate, it looks to be Snyder's smallest film since his well-received 2004 breakout movie, Dawn of the Dead. Oof. I don't know how to feel about this.
Why?
Because can he stay away from slow motion? I'm not even saying that as a dig. I'm like saying is because he's another one that's his own worst enemy sometimes. Like, sometimes. I was watching Rebel Moon for the first part of it, and I talked about this scene. He's with Sofia Boutella's in this really intense fight scene that I'm in. I'm all on board. I'm like, he's setting this up great. In the middle of it, then she goes, stop, just fight, stop. And every 5 seconds is slow motion. I'm like, no. I don't want to see that in a UFC fight. I want a UFC movie. If it's like, this to me could be a great choice for him if he can say, look what I can do without all that stuff. Without all the VFX, without all the slow motion, and I'm just going to tell you a story. And I'm just going to show, because how great would it be to flip it on everybody's head if they're like, wait, because if he does it a great job, he go do more movies like that. If he does like his version of Warrior, or if he does something along those lines, because I just got into a phone call about I want to see more UFC movies in the way we saw boxing movies. But it's so funny how Hollywood has the same like voice message that they go, if anybody calls about this, say this. Because I called a couple different producers I was talking about, like ideas of UFC movies and stuff too, and they're all like, well, nobody's really buying those right now. Nobody wants sport movies right now, and the reason why is because you can't do this. And there's like the same stock answer. I was like, wow, you guys got a memo or something? And then you see Zack Snyder has one. If this is a hit, everybody's going to want to do UFC movies. So this is something that I think is a very, very important movie for him, because it could change how people perceive him if he stays away from the vices.
Yeah, I mean, like, remember Warrior? Gavin O'Connor did a great job with that film.
I love that movie.
And that's the level you have to bring it at, right? That kind of like gritty approach to it. If you start adding, I don't know, right? If you start adding those film flair tendencies, that's really against the feeling of UFC, right? UFC is down on the ground and pound, grittiness, tough as nails, fight through hell to come out the other side kind of thing, you know? And so it doesn't mean you can't have, like we saw in numerous Rocky movies, those slow motion moments of the punching or whatever.
Yeah, a couple moments.
Right, couple. As long as you don't overdo it and overstress it, I think it's possible. And look, Zack Snyder, don't forget 300, that's as manly as of a movie as you can fucking watch. So if he can bring that kind of energy to it, I think he's great. And it's very similar to Michael Bay. Like Michael Bay's 13 Hours is damn good. Michael Bay's Pain and Gain is damn good. When he strips down, well, I thought so. When he strips down, I think he can deliver a straightforward movie. This is a nice challenge for Zach to deliver a straightforward movie like this, and it could get a good reception at the box office because he has a very strong base in the men who would watch UFC stuff. So I think this is a strong decision by him. But again, as you said, and I think very well, he has to avoid his normal tendencies to do things and be a little more stripped down.
Yeah,
and just deliver a straight up movie. And I think he can make it work.
Yeah, I want to see like there's sometimes, and it was Tim Burton's done this a couple times, and Guy Ritchie does this a lot. When I'm watching a movie and I go, well, who directed that? What? Guy Ritchie directed that?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I want to see. Like, because you can turn on a Zack Snyder movie and you know that Zack Snyder did it. And 9 out of 10 times you do that with Guy Ritchie.
Right.
But there's some times like The Covenant and some other movies that you go, wait a minute. He did, because his style doesn't overpower that movie, The Covenant, at all. I think, was it I don't know if it was Big Fish, but I can't remember which one it was. But there's a movie that Burton did. But there's movies that sometimes directors do, and you go, oh, that's a good, how about that? And that's what I want to see for Snyder, because I root for him. I root for him. I just want to see him do a better, I don't know, it's just something better and stay away from the gimmicks. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. All you guys, what do you think about this? Do you think a UFC movie will work? Make sure not only do you put your comments in here, we are on Spotify, so make sure that Spotify does comments now. So put your comments in there. We're on Apple Podcasts, all that stuff. Make sure you do it. And before we get to your questions, because right now we have almost 40, I believe. And yep. And we are now going to tell you guys, as our buddies, you've been watching this show, you know AG1. If you haven't, then you're dropping the ball. Don't drop the ball anymore. Here's AG1. Get it.
Let's talk AG1. I love AG1. I had it this morning. I love it. It helps you build a healthy morning routine. 60 seconds to get your daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre and probiotics, adaptogens, more. And I've been drinking it for, forever. You can't be part of this show if you haven't heard me talking about AG1. I'm going to give you a couple of fast facts about AG1 and how it supports your gut health. It contains prebiotics, probiotics, and gut-supporting ingredients to support your digestion, reduce bloating, and keep you regular. In a research study, 80% of participants noticed less gas and bloating after 30 days of drinking AG1. For me, I've had a lot of changes since I started to. I sleep better, better gut health, my focus, stress, all of it. It's just great. AG1's powder form makes it easy for your body to digest and access the nutrient-dense ingredients in the formula. They've been around with us for so long because so many of you guys have been doing it also. You've been getting AG1, you've been checking it out, you've been changing your routines, and it's worked. So if you want to start and notice the difference for yourself, it's a great first step to invest in your health, and that's why they've been a proud partner of mine for so long. Try AG1 and get a free bottle of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase at drinkag1.com/bigthing. $48 value for free if you go to drinkag1.com/bigthing. Go ahead, check it out.
All right. Thank you to our friends over at AG1. Such a big fan of them. You guys know it. I have, John, I don't know if I know you did AG1 before.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's really good stuff. And it just keeps me motivated, keeps me energized. So hope everybody can go and check that out. As we now get to the questions, we're currently at 37 questions.
37.
37.
Okay, everybody.
That's a great number, man.
Was this something I said? I thought we get to 70. But all right, 37 is fine.
I'm always happy when we get 10. Taylor Witt. I saw Joker with the wife this weekend. At the end, I turned to her and I said, I absolutely loved that movie. She replied, were we watching the same movie? I guess I was in the minority. Yeah, look, it's subjective. It's the thing we always talk about. Some people are going to dig it, and I could see where you're watching it and you're like, this isn't that bad. And then if you like the ending, then it delivers for you. If you don't like the ending, I think it's going to not. But before, what I wanted to do, John, before we continue on, because the questions are still coming in, what's going on in the channel this week?
Oh, yeah. Head on over to youtube.com/John Rocha Says, my channel, The Outlaw Nation. We just crossed 35,000 subscribers officially over the weekend. Yes. So very proud of that. I know some of you will be like, oh, that's nothing compared to 100,000. I get it, but I'm going at my pace and I'm building as I build, and I'm proud of the channel and the great work we've been doing. We just dropped our spoiler review episode for episode 3 of The Penguin from the Geek Buddies. That is up there for you all to watch as soon as you're done with this show. And then we've got a spoiler review tonight of The Joker with me, Mike, and Shannon going live at 5 p.m. PT tonight. And, of course, Hot Mike later on this week. We got so much going on there. And The Jedi Way will be back on Wednesday to talk about the big news and those groups that certain studios are hiring to help them do fan stuff. So there's a lot happening this week. Head on over there, youtube.com/John Rocha Says, The Outlaw Nation. Would love to have you come aboard. Thank you.
Definitely go and check that out. And I noticed John just had the Penguin review go up today.
Yep.
That episode was just out of control good.
It's the best episode of the season.
So damn good. It was so good. And I don't know if you said this in your thing, but I did a reaction and review to it. That kid should play Miles Morales.
He'd be a great choice,
right?
Renzi Phillips.
Yeah,
great choice. Yeah,
he was so good. So that show, just amazing. And speaking of which, I have that not only that reaction, we put the Deadpool and Wolverine reaction. It's almost at 70,000. So thanks, guys. Appreciate that. We're only doing one movie reaction this week because time got away from me, and one of my kids got sick. My wife's supposed to come in and do the Batman with me this morning so we can get it out there early, and we're unable to do it. So we'll do. I think actually, speaking of Warrior, Sam's never seen it before, so I think we're going to do Warrior this week.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay, Derek Johnson. Derek the Great. Thank you, Derek.
What's up, Derek?
He said, I'm just throwing some support. You always do, my friend, and it's beyond appreciated. Joker was a bad movie. Agreed. They should start making a list of movies with the most unused potential. This has got to be top 5. Wasted acting, wasted Lady Gaga, wasted storyline, and I don't know if it's set in New York or Gotham. Agreed. Some more support, by the way, Kristian, 100% agree with you that some shows are targeted towards a certain audience. Yeah, people still aren't really getting that. It's like when you say that it's targeted towards an audience, doesn't mean that it's the only audience that's allowed to watch it. No one's saying that. It's like anyway, going back to what he said, yeah, the movie just was, I think, as you were saying beforehand, I was like, I don't think everybody's on board that this is you'll have your people who are going to defend it. But for the most part, I think we're in the majority for this one. I don't know if we're in the majority for the Doctor Strange story.
No, but we're strong. You might be slightly smaller, but we're mighty. There's a lot of people who didn't like Multiverse of Madness.
You know what I'm going to do? Right now, we have over 1,000 people watching live right now. So what I'm going to do, I'll bring up the next question, ask it, and as I'm doing it, I'm going to put up a poll. And I want to see if the audience is on board for...
Replace your windows and doors now.
I don't want to replace my windows. You stop that. I'm going to put a poll up there and see if people want Raimi to do... I'll say, are you happy? As I'm doing right now. Are you happy with Raimi doing Strange 2? And what do you think? Because last week... we had, what was it? It was Steph and Mike, and we said how many, I can't remember how many people, whatever it was, we were all wrong on what we thought the audience was going to say. So here, I just posted it. We'll see at the end of the show what people think, but I just posted it up there. So let's get to the next question, and that is from Hank Pym. Terrifier 3 week. You'll have a favorite slasher? Yeah, Freddy. Freddy's my favorite slasher. Easily. He tells
I'd say
jokes.
Freddy because of the inventiveness of it. Yeah. I agree with you, Kristian.
He tells jokes.
Yes.
Excuse me. You should have seen it. I held back on that one. Derek also says, what changes could have been made to make this movie better? I think we dressed it in the spoiler thing. I think a different story overall and where they approach it, not being scared of what the first movie was.
And adhering to the storyline that you set up in the first movie and the character that you set up in the first movie. Yeah.
Derek Johnson. James Gunn is saying he only gave notes to Joker 2 and really had nothing to do with him, just like Filoni with Acolyte. I swear, Lucasfilm and WB just shooting themselves on foot constantly. See, Derek is definitely it's going to take a lot for James Gunn to win Derek over. He's going to take a lot. So I'm not putting Gunn under the fire yet, because all this stuff was made before he was there.
Yeah.
So whether he gave notes or not, and whether they listened to his notes or not, who knows? But it's going to take a lot for them to win over Derek Johnson, who says, Rocha said this before, Gunn needs to stay his butt off social media and focus only on getting Superman right and his overall story right. You're never going to see Feige claiming good or bad projects unless he's asked on a red carpet. Yeah. How do you feel about that, Joe? You agree with
it? I still agree to that. And I still like the same thing when I see George R.R. Martin posting a blog post about House of the Dragon season 1.
Yeah.
Get back in that room and write the book. Shut up. Like, I just think there's nothing that's good to come out of creatives doing this kind of stuff, especially when you're in a position that Feige's in, which is in charge of. I think director Scott Derrickson, other people coming on Twitter and do it, that's fine. It's great. But like, you are Feige level. And when you're at Feige level, going on social media to correct minute issues that people have with certain stories, I think just is the wrong path to walk, and it's dangerous, and it could lead you into a bad. You can say something off kilter, then you got to spend the rest of the time walking back. I don't know what good comes of it, so it just frustrates me. But yes, I don't look. I'm not a kind of person who wants to jump onto James Gunn stuff, but like, yeah, him taking credit for Super/Man and for Penguin, but not saying anything about Joker, I think is a curious situation to look at. So yeah.
The great Tim Sim. Having finished the McMahon documentary, I found it overall well made, with the final 30 minutes of the last episode the real kicker. That sums up who Vince is and why he must never retake WWE again. Retake WWE. Yeah, and you finished. Do you agree with that take from Tim?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, a very well made documentary. As I said, for those of us who've seen the stories, probably a lot of stuff we know already before, but it's for Vince. And when you're watching some of the interactions Vince has in answering some of the questions, that's your window into who that guy is. He loves to claim nobody really knows him. Bullshit. We all know him. And when you're watching that documentary, you know him even more so by the end.
I think we're starting to really get to know him.
Yes, 100%.
I think the real him. And then Tim says, P.S. Don't blow it and make us an H-Town have the last laugh now that your Yanks have the best shot at winning the World Series in 15 years while we tend to our tired wounds. I can see the excuses coming already. But what I will say is this. Did you watch the game the other night, John? The Yanks?
Yeah, that was a great game against Kansas City, the 7-6.
You think it was a great game?
I thought for us to fight back and battle back and take that victory.
You don't leave. Dude, they had bases loaded with no outs.
Yeah.
And they got 2 runs by getting walked. They got nothing out of the infield. That you can't do that. No, you can't do that. You've gotta wake up. The bats have to wake up.
I also reject Tim's premise. This is our best chance to win the series in 15 years. Against a tough KC team and against a Cleveland bullpen, that's incredible. And then we've got to probably face the Dodgers if they handle their business against the Padres. So this is not our best chance to win the series in 15
No, it's going to be if everybody hits, we got a great shot, but it's
Sure.
Let's go Subway Series. Jacob Fleck. I enjoyed Joker 2. It's not a perfect movie, but I liked the performance, and the story they told was interesting to me. As a musical theater fan performer, I thought the musical elements were implemented and executed 3.2 out of 5 for me. Totally fair. Look, like we said, difference of opinion. I thought they were sometimes they worked, sometimes they were excessive. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as someone who is also a musical theater guy and who was trained in musical theater through high school and college, I thought a lot of the direction of those musical theater sequences were really well done. But the last 30 of the minutes of the movie, when he's calling on the phone and leaving a 5-minute singing voicemail, was so ridiculous.
Yeah.
So there was a number of things.
They took swings.
Yeah, it was overdone.
Yeah. Johnny Venerable. I shipped the Penguin writers to work on a Star Wars ASAP. Well, here's the problem. But here's the problem. The problem is this. It's not that they're not getting quality people. The problem is it's the machine that they're put into. The Penguin was put into a machine of Matt Reeves, the writers into a machine of Matt Reeves and the the team that's making shows over at HBO Max, and they decided, hey, we want this to be an HBO show and not just a Max show. This is the difference between like, okay, yeah, we want the writers of the Penguin to come over. All right, I know you wanted to do all that, but go talk to Filoni. Filoni wants you to change all of that and make sure that it's more closer to a little more towards the kids and do this and that. Can you do that? And they're like, well, that's not really the story we want to tell. Yeah, but he wants you to do this, and then it all goes to farts.
Where's the talking dog? Give me the talking dog.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So no thanks. Not because I wouldn't love to see him do it, because I don't want to see their vision get ruined. Mike Joyce, Joker 2 isn't good, but it's getting way too much hate. Do you think this movie has done a lot of damage to musicals' reputations? Nah, not to musicals, because musicals are they're already walking up a tough climb.
Yeah. Why is a film getting too much hate? People don't like the movie, and they're allowed to kill it. How come no one goes, this movie's getting way too much praise? No one ever says that.
That's not true. That's not true.
Everyone else agrees that the film is great. Do you think people say that?
Yeah, they say it's overrated. They go, oh, come on, it's not as good as everyone. It's fine. It's not as good as everyone's saying it is. You hear that all the time. But I think what Mike's saying, though, is also fair when you look at it and you go, look, if you saw a movie that you thought was just, and like this movie, and I think that you probably maybe been saying the same thing Mike is here. Like, I would say the same thing. I don't think this is if someone said this is one of the worst movies I've seen in 10 years, I wouldn't agree with that. So I wouldn't agree with that hate. I would say that's getting, you see what I'm saying? Like, so I think if he's saying that, essentially, I agree with that. I don't think it deserves that kind of vitriol, but but then to argue Rocha's point, if you're like, the reason why it's getting so much pushback is because the movie cost what it did, and it was projected to make $120 million, and it didn't even make 40. So, yeah.
It's a different set of expectations.
Yes.
Someone was trying to compare it to something recently I saw online over the weekend. I'm like, those are two different sets of expectations for why the reception to one film is more a negative than the reception to another film. Oh, Madam Web. People are like, I can't believe... To make it make sense that Madam Web has a C cinema score and Joker 2 has a D+ cinema score. And I'm like, yeah, because nobody expected anything from Madam Web. And the fact that it was somewhat watchable is why it ranked a little bit higher. Whereas people went in expecting Joker to be an A-level movie. Right. And because it was so clearly not, they went after it a lot harder. That's why you get scores like that.
It's true.
It's not apples to apples.
Well, it's the same thing with Rotten Tomatoes, as I always try to tell people. It's like, when they look and they go, whoa, that movie has a 98% of Rotten Tomatoes. Okay, it very well could mean that everybody loves the movie. But what it also could mean is if, let's say, 100 people saw the movie, 100 people, and all 100 of them, let's say it's 100% Rotten Tomatoes score, and 100% of them all thought it was a 3.1. It was fine. It's a fine movie. It's not rotten. I'll still give it fresh, but it's a 3.1 out of 5. If all 100 of them, then it gets on 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. So then everybody looks at it and goes, whoa, they think it's a great movie. It's not what it means all the time. Sometimes it means like, okay, you have a high score. It means people gave it a high enough thing, think it was really, really good. But in the same way, the same argument of if something has a 20% or whatever this has, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean everybody thought it was a 0 out of 5. Like me, I couldn't get it to fresh. I just couldn't. I don't think it's a fresh movie. And so that's how Rotten Tomatoes works, which is kind of it's a hard system in the same way that I think baseball has a stupid playoff system. Stupid.
Here we go.
It's a stupid playoff system. It's like everybody can get in. It doesn't mean anything. Everybody can get in. It's like the Phillies, who are significantly better than the Mets, right? And I'm pulling for the Mets. I don't root against the Mets. It's not like when you're in Florida and Knowles and Gators. There's no world I'm ever going to root for the Gators. But if the Mets make it, unless they're playing the Yankees, I'll root for the Mets. But the Mets had to fight back and barely get into the playoffs. The Phillies were in first place the whole damn year, and they're almost getting knocked out by the Mets in this, like, because anybody can get in the playoffs now. Anyway, who cares? Carlton Rudder, London Calling. We'll catch your show tomorrow. I'm at Transformers 1 screening. Finish Dark Matter. Amazing series. John, I hope you're better. Yeah, John, you're feeling better, right?
Yeah. I went down for a couple of days because I just wanted to vax myself against COVID and against the flu and shingles, and it was all. It knocked me out for 2 days. Like, it legitimately wiped me out. But it's worth it because then I was fine on Sunday and I've been good today. So yeah, I'm good.
Let's see.
Don't bring your sick asses around me, man.
That's true. It's a me, Steve-O. As a fan, who don't you talk to from the old crew and why? Because I hate them all. No. Is that what you want to hear? It's not true. No, who don't I mean, people, you grow apart from people, A, and B, people get busy. So I don't know. There's some people I still talk to, some people I don't. This is the lame answer, but it's all I got for you.
Yeah, I think that's right. You grow apart, or like me, I don't even live in LA anymore, so I hardly ever see or hear from the people who if I was still in LA, I'm sure I'd run into the screenings all the time, and go grab a drink or something. But
it's hard to get, especially if life gets in the way. Alexis LeBlanc, who says, by comparing the state of Arkham in the two movies, Clean and White versus Dirty and Dark, I kind of accept the ending of the first was in his head. I mean, yeah, but they don't address it. And then they tell you, though, that the beginning of the movie is not in his head. So they don't really do that. So it's like, then, and this is fine, in the same way that The Sopranos asks you at the end of the movie to kind of make it your own of how you saw the ending, right?
Yeah. That's
essentially what you're doing here. But to me, it's like, well, they set all this stuff up, and then they give you the ending to say, that we're confirming that this is what, if all that other stuff happened, this is what we're confirming happened to him, and then they don't even address it.
Yeah.
Right? They don't even address it. Am I wrong?
Nope. They don't address it. They don't. And he claims he murdered all of them. So in his head or not, he did it.
Right.
So that's that.
Well, no, those people, that's what he's on trial for.
Yeah.
So the question is like,
they keep trying to commit him for 5. But he says 6, so he accepts all the murders he's done.
But they never even mention, he doesn't even mention the doctor at the end.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we got Matt B. Between this and House of Gucci, Lady Gaga might need to fire whoever is handing these scripts. I don't disagree with that. You got to find a bet. In the same way, who had a really bad agent for a long time was Zac Efron.
Oh yeah.
I mean, maybe he might have the same one, but maybe they got their act together. I don't know. But for a long time, there's just the stuff that he was getting. It's like roll, and he's still not getting prime. He just did the what's the movie that we like a lot? Iron Claw. He got that, but then he did the romantic comedy on Netflix with Nicole Kidman, and he's a really good actor. That kid. But he just he just did the same thing.
But sometimes you can't save your actor from their choices.
I know.
Sometimes the actor's like, no, I want to do this.
Yeah.
That's that. And you're like, okay, but I'm telling you. And then you're like, okay. But so these people want to keep their jobs, keep their percentages coming in. They got to let their actors do certain things. Yeah. But of course, actors are so fickle, they'll turn around and be like, why'd you let me do this?
That's true. Mr. Big. I am one of the few that actually love this movie. Awesome. That's
love.
Yeah. Oh. Hey, listen, there's some movies that I'm sure I love and that you definitely don't love, and the reverse to that too. So hey, that's one of them. Good on you, Mr. Big. Jay West, I was never gonna see Joker 2. It seemed like a fart in a jar, and everybody who opened a jar got a stinker. You two have been more entertaining talking about it than the movie itself. Well, I appreciate that. That's nice. Give us that Warner Bros. Money though, and we'll really be entertaining.
Yeah,
for sure. Kick It to the King Productions. Love that name. Campia said it best. You take the music out of The Greatest Showman, you have no clue what's going on in the story. If you take the music out of Joker 2, you're not lost. Yeah, I agree with that. That's why I push back at people. I've saw some people who say that this is a musical. I wouldn't call this a musical. I think there's a musical element to it. But and then because of the way it's used as a gimmick, sometimes it shows up, sometimes it doesn't. There's a rhythm to a musical that it's like, okay, here it comes, boom, now they're doing it. This is just sporadic, so I don't really see this as a musical. Do you?
No, I see it as a film with musical elements.
Yeah.
Like you said, but not a musical straight up. I wouldn't put this in the category of West Side Story or In the Heights. It's not quite the same thing because all their songs are doing are reiterating what we already know is happening in the scene. And so it's not that strong,
I totally agree.
I want to take on the Campia Challenge as Showman. Sure. That's one of my favorites. So I might take a look at that film and see if it works without the music.
Oh, really? I mean, it's like a pure musical. You don't think so? All right.
I don't know. I'm saying I don't know. I want to take on the challenge and see if Campia's right.
Well, Derek Johnson, $200 million. I mean, where'd that money go? Some of these movies have a lot of CGI. I can understand the cost going, how does this happen? I mean, this seems to be just like a recurring conversation. Where do you think the money went in this one? The budget,
I think
producer cost?
Beautiful cinematography here. And I think there's probably the salary for Gaga and Joaquin and Todd after having made $1 billion movie. I'm sure their quotes went way up for this one. But I think the cinematography here, the set design, what they did, the look of the film, I think that's where all the money went. You can't argue. Like, the end result of the movie is one thing, but the look of the movie is incredible.
Yeah.
I don't see anybody complaining about the cinematography.
Yeah, show it. And then all the producer costs and probably talent costs and everything too, probably balloon this thing.
And those musical sequences ain't cheap.
Right.
Yeah.
Renee Reyes, I feel like Roxy really liked this movie. LOL. Oh, and Kristian, you're right. I'm not laughing out loud. Joker 2 will go down as one of the worst sequels. That's a different conversation. I think that if people say what's a really bad sequel to a great movie, I think that's going to be in the conversation. For sure.
I loved watching the real Reject reactions after the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, you see them struggling to say something positive. I mean, John, God love John. John's like, it's an unusual film. And poor Roxy's like, I'm not sure where I land.
I agreed with what Roxy said, though, where she said it took swings. But it was. I thought Greg's actually was the most on par with where I was, where it was like I was confused. I was interested. I was confused. I was irritated. I liked it. I was confused. And then by the time you get to it, it's a mess. So I agreed with what I think Greg the most. Hank Pym, do we still have time to build for the 4-on-4 old versus new bloodline at Survivor Series? Do you think they'll add The Rock and Cody to make it 5-on-6? What do you think, John?
100%. The Rock is totally coming back to be a part of this big week. I mean, he came back the other night, so it was awesome, which that was such a great thing to react to. But yeah, absolutely. And you see someone put a video out, you can see Solo say, this is all part of the plan with The Rock coming back. So he's definitely going on the young gun side of things versus Roman. Now, who's Roman's got Jimmy back now. Will Jay eventually come over? Will it be Cody? Will it be Sammy? I think that's the big X factor in all of this. Sammy coming back. So it'll be a makeshift bloodline versus that other side of the thing. But
it's going to be huge by Survivor Series, right? Yeah, because
time.
Well, because of what just happened with Kevin Owens, and
turning on Cody.
That's a way to get Sammy into it, and then you could have that whole thing go down. So I do think, and then that's going to ultimately lead to finally getting Roman Reigns and The Rock at WrestleMania. Which will definitely happen, I think. Okay, let's go to the next one here, and Keith, who says, the fact that Smile 2 might be better than the Joker is crazy for way less money. It's really not that crazy when you go back to what we talk about in this show, to where people are getting exhausted from us hearing it, and I'm getting exhausted saying it, is that they're going to make this movie for nothing, and it's a sequel of a popular movie, and they're not going to make it for a lot of money, and it's going to make money. And it's because it came out at the right time, they didn't overspend, it's going to make money. And it's like, and this is also, it's another movie, it's like an anthology thing. I don't think you even have to see the first one and know what's going on in the second one. It's Naomi Scott. She needs a hit too, by the way.
Oh yeah. 100%.
Yeah, I like her a lot, and I think she needs a hit. So I think that movie will definitely will make more money, way more money than Joker overall, which is crazy. That is crazy to say. Armada, great googly moogly, Joker 2. Yep, I'm with you. Pete Parker, 2288. Hey. Just saying hi from Orlando. A little worried about the hurricane. Kristian, do you have family down here, and how are they doing? Thank you. Yes, I do, and they're all preparing, because this is supposed to be like one of the biggest and worst ones like ever. Yeah. So I'm hoping my dad, we're trying to get him to get the hell out of there. So we're hoping that we're working on it with him. That's the first phone call I got to make when I get off with you guys, because he's a stubborn old
goat.
Yes. And he says, I'm not leaving. My brother yesterday, he goes, Ted, you gotta go. And he's like, I'm not leaving the dogs. I said, no one told you to leave the dogs. Take the dogs. Go to a hotel that takes the dogs. Go to the dogs. He's like, I can't leave the dogs. Like, no one said take the dogs, or don't leave the dogs. So Mazapi, I heard the Hawk Tour girl has a podcast. Any chance that she can be on a guest in this show? John gets upset, and he's showing us his glasses and showing you basically. John, put your glasses up there to the screen. No, put them to the screen the way you just did. Yeah. Now look at, just lower them a little bit. Lower them a little bit. Now you see how we see John. That's how John sees the world normally, like that. So I would actually talk to her. I'll tell you that. I would. I would. I think she's got a lot of personality. I would definitely have her on as a guest. And she should have a podcast. I don't understand. Look, here's the thing that people don't understand.
Yeah.
You might not like the way that she got in front of the camera. You might not like the way that, you're like, oh man, because I even said to everybody it's a viral moment. The question is, how do you grab onto the viral moment and how do you make the viral moment work for you? Because if you just have that thing, but then nobody gives a crap what you're saying. If she's got a podcast and people want to listen to her podcast, God bless her. Who the hell are we to say that she can't have a podcast? Who are we to say, because she did a blowjob joke, she shouldn't have a show? Hey, she did what she took the ball, she ran into the end zone. She didn't fumble it on the floor. She took it and she ran with it.
I think it's funny. The same people complaining about this are the same people who watch the Kardashians, and she got famous off a sex tape. So give me a break. These things, here's the things you look at is that she is not coming off arrogant. She's not coming off conceited. This is a situation that blew up. She is riding the wave. She's smart enough to ride the wave. She has stayed herself. I've watched her in a number of interviews. She's actually a really engaging, funny, authentic person.
Yeah.
And so that's what people are gravitating to because we have so much inauthenticity in our lives. And so the fact that she wants to have her own podcast, and I think it's already going, then I think all power to you. However you get your bag is however you get your bag. What you do with that platform, I think, is going to be what people judge you by. You know,
100%.
Yeah, great actors become great actors. Why? Because they went viral with a performance. And that's in essence what happens. There are plenty of great actors who never became great famous actors because none of their performances ever in the right movie ever really kind of went viral in a way. And that's this whole situation. Viral is another way of just saying you became famous for something you did. And so
yeah, and she took it and ran with it. Mike Joyce, Gotham is in the state of New York. I mean, that's what they make it seem like. Was that always a thing?
No, that's never been 100% confirmed. Or else tell me why Pittsburgh is freaking Gotham in The Dark Knight Returns, for God's sake. Or Dark Knight Rises.
Ever been a thing?
It's been hinted at, but then Metropolis is supposed to be New York as well. So come on.
Yeah. All right. This is Can You Dig It? Happy Monday to you, Kristian and John. Thank you.
Hello.
Did either of you catch Jordan Peele on Ryan Coogler's podcast yesterday? I didn't realize that Ryan Coogler had a podcast.
No, I didn't see that.
Ryan Coogler has a podcast?
I didn't know he had a podcast.
Dude, I want to check that out. Peele spoke, yeah, but I love Ryan Coogler. I would definitely want to get his, I would want to hear his podcast. Peele spoke about his filmmaking journey, and it was great to see. Keep up the great content. No, but thank you for telling me about that, because those are two people I would really love to hear have a conversation about that. So that's amazing. That's a great podcast, the two of them. So thank you. Josh Trek Nerd 78. Arthur was never a psychopath, which is how Joker is normally depicted. He has several mental illnesses and had a psychotic episode because he stopped taking medication. Sure, but you know as well as I do, that's not what the movie was about. It was about him saying, he stopped taking his medication, and then, he jumped back into Joker, but even when he's off his medication, then he decided that he's not the Joker. So, yeah, but I think that's a default.
Yeah, do you understand? First of all, he is a psychopath, because plenty of people go off their medication and don't kill 6 people. This is something that came up in the debate the other night. It's like, it's so clear. Just because you have a mental illness doesn't mean you have a predisposition to commit violence. And this correlative nature of that I think is a dangerous thing to put out there. So he is absolutely a psychopath because he used the excuse of not being on his medication to go and kill 6 people, right? This isn't a violent episode. This is consistently done. And shooting Murray on camera is 100% a psychopathic moment, and he knew exactly what he was doing. The guys on the train, I could see that it's bullying. That's a whole nother. He snapped. That I can understand. Suffocating his mother, killing Murray, those in essence are planned situations. So not a psychopath going off his medication. It's just a psychopath,
Travis Nickerson. They should start doing Legends Timeline as an animated series. I want to see Coach Skywalker facing Darth Krayt in the Sith. So here, I could give you that answer that I've been giving, which is no, not until the regime changes. However, that would land into, and I've been very vocal about this, I think that where they do have their stuff together, even though Outlaws didn't do very well, I still think their video game team, their animation team, the comics, and the novels, I think that team, don't touch them. Leave them alone. They're telling stories. Actually, have them be more involved in the TV and film stuff. and collectively have all of that. So if they're going to do a Legends timeline where they're going to do it animated and put that team, and then sure. So I wouldn't be against that, but I'd say, I think that team needs to be more involved than they are.
Yeah.
Cody Hunt. This episode of The Penguin might be in the top 5 episodes I've ever seen. There's so much more to Vic and what drives him. So many big moments. It's fantastic. It's a fantastic episode. And like the opening, well, not spoiling anything, the opening is just like, whoa. And the way that it's very, very well written.
Yeah. The battle going on right now with the three of us on the Geek Buddies reviews is Michael thinks he's going to turn into a villain. I think he's going to be a hero. And Shannon thinks he's going to be killed by the penguin by the end. So we'll see what happens. But I love that all those possibilities are possible.
The only thing I say without spoiling it, my prediction of that is I just think he had an opportunity. I think that's why more so the Jesse Walt dynamic really came to play in yesterday's episode, more so. And I think that his time. Yeah, I don't want to spoil it for people. I don't want to spoil it, but I will say that I think I'm more on the maybe I'm a mix between Shannon and Mike.
Okay.
Han, the Schmodown randomly popped up in my mind, so I searched your name in the YouTube search, and son of a bitch, you're live with Rocha. Great to see your faces. Glad to have you on. Yeah, John, Rocha, and I are on every Monday. I love how that's the thing that you and I are always talking about with YouTube, right? There are tons of people who used to watch Schmodown and other things that have no clue that we're still even doing YouTube channels. It's just how it goes. Like life goes on. There's other things that happen, and then I get comments all the time. Like, oh, I'm so glad you're still doing a channel. Like, when did you do it? I've been having one for 3 years now, 2.5 years, and it's just people have other stuff to do and other stuff to watch. So it's like I'm glad that you found us again, Han. That's pretty awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so you're at 48. I think you're going to hit 50 today. I feel like you at least hit 50, and that's a good start for the rest of the crew to try to catch up to 50. Derek Johnson, get Raimi out of here. I say that after listening to Elizabeth Olsen. If she comes back, she's going to make sure she has full reins on the project, which makes me feel better. I 100% agree with Rocha on this one. Yeah, that's a good point, the Olsen one, because like she was not happy with that movie.
Nope.
Yeah.
To talk. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wonder. That's a great point.
Yeah.
What are they going to do there? Whose side are they going to take if they even have her? She probably won't even come back.
She won't even be a part of it.
No. They'll probably limit her role. Jacob Tizano, what's a movie or show you think enhanced the source material? For me, it's The Boys and Haunting of Hill House. Absolutely fantastic show. What's a movie that you think enhanced the source material? It's always so tough where it's like, I think Arcane is to me like League of Legends is something that I had seen, and they totally. I would say that Arcane. Have you started watching it yet?
No, not yet.
Oh, John, you're killing me, dude.
I would say the Clone Wars, right? I mean, I'm not a prequel trilogy person.
Okay.
But I thought the Clone Wars absolutely gave me so much more to enjoy when I go back and watch those movies than ever before. And maybe even the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles animated film, I think, made me enjoy the idea of walking back into that universe again much, much more. Yeah.
Armada. Tim Burton for Doctor Strange 3 instead? No.
Oh.
No, it's the same issue. You got the same issues. The Tim Burton is not going to make, you need directors that are, I think Ryan Coogler is a great example of the type of director in their career of who they should be going after for these movies, because Ryan Coogler had just done Creed, and it was a movie he wanted to do in Black Panther, and they gave him the reins, but they also said, look, this is where we want to go. What can you do with this? And they collaborated. Like, do that. The old dogs are going to do the movies that they want to do because they got nothing to lose. Jean-Philippe Gorin. I love the show. Thank you. What was the most disappointing outing in theaters for you? Megalopolis or Joker 2? For me, it was Joker 2, even though Megalopolis bored me more. I didn't see Megalopolis, so I can't really... Did you wind up going to see that one, John?
Not yet.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It feels like work to go see that right now.
Yeah, and I don't feel... I mean, I just saw Joker. I don't want to go into another thing knowing I might be... And I've seen clips on TikTok. They've started dropping clips on TikTok. None of those clips make me want to watch this movie. So I'm just like, oh, God, I don't want to do this. I don't put myself through this. But Joker is the bigger disappointment because you expected more.
Yeah. Jacob Tizano. Also, just wanted to say thank you, John, Coy, Winston, Roxy, and everyone who comes on this show is great and creates a safe and healthy discussion. That is a great comment, and I'm glad because it makes me feel like we're doing our job. Because the whole point is I want people to, feel accepted and feel like they can have a conversation and peacefully discuss and agree and disagree with each other in this. And it's honestly, it's not, this isn't a joke. This is legit. Like, it's why I have John on Mondays, because we see eye to eye on some things. We disagree on other things, but we discuss them like human beings. And that is what I think it kind of sets off, and that's what everybody likes to try to do here. So I'm glad that you felt that way and that you come here because of that. Ewok, The Brutalist, a 3.5-hour period epic and likely Best Picture winner spanning 40 years, shot on VistaVision and releasing in 70mm with intermission, cost less than $10 million to make. Take notes, Hollywood. Did you see The Brutalist, or is that not coming out?
I don't even think it's out.
It's not out yet. Okay.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it, though. Sure.
But that's a great point. The question is, the only thing that comes with that, though, is the studio will get cold feet about marketing it and not put a lot of marketing behind it.
Yeah.
Which will be the catch-22. Julius Wyatt. John, your Commanders. You like that? Also, Deshaun Watson has to be benched. He's making a lot of money, but just bite the bullet. Can't wait for Green Bay tonight.
Come on now. We're 4-1, which is nice. It's nice. I yelled this out in the middle of the third quarter, and my girlfriend had come in and go, "Are you okay?" I just said, "I don't know what's happening. What is this feeling of happiness as I watch the Commanders? I don't remember this feeling. It's been 30 years." So, except for the RG3 year, of course.
Yeah.
So for me, this is so much fun. But again, it's only 5 games. We have Baltimore next week, and that's a tough team.
You're not going to give me any props at all?
I think it's great what we're doing. Jaden looked incredible.
I'm not talking about your team anymore. I'm talking about the Giants. They beat Seattle.
Screw the Giants, man.
Oh, they at least beat the Seattle. Come on. Julius Wyatt. Oh, he said that already. I'm not giving any more love to the Commanders. Eat it. Next one. And the only reason I give a little bit, I say, okay, fine, you can have it, is because I'm still feeling for Ellis with Molly right now. So I want them to win. Pete Parker, 2288. Yeah, I don't want you to win. Who would you take off X first? Rocha or Mike? That's what Pete Parker says to me. Oh, who would I? That's a great comment.
You gotta take Mike off.
Who would if I could delete someone's Twitter? Whose would it be? Mike's or Rocha's?
Come on.
It'd probably be Mike's. Yeah. Mike just like is like the guy who goes to the bar and he sees somebody, he doesn't really listen to what they're saying, but he doesn't like the guy's face and starts swinging. And then you start hitting them when they're on the floor.
I know. I just go. I wait for them to say something.
Yeah, right. And then you start swinging. But you're both terrible. PJ would be in there too, though. I'd like to get PJ off of Twitter also.
Hey, why do you hate people who are outspoken? I don't understand that.
You're screaming. It's not outspoken. You're screaming into the void. You're screaming into the void. Because anybody
who don't know that.
I
That's
do.
Your narrative
Wait a minute. No, this is our whole point. If you and I are having a conversation here and we don't see eye to eye on something, I can look into your eyes. You can look into mine. We can have a conversation. We go, oh, wait a minute. There's a point that I didn't see. You're never going to say that on Twitter. On Twitter,
I do.
Come on.
I say that all the time on Twitter.
Most times you are tweeting out with the people who already agree with you going, yeah, tell them, John. And then the rest of the people who hate you are going to go, shut up, you woke turd, because they're not, no matter what point you make. And it's the same thing. Like, who are you talking to? It just, it doesn't, I don't, if you're in front of a microphone and you're talking to your audience on your show, I'm like, look, this is a guy who's given his thoughts, his opinion, and I'm not taking away your outspokenness. I think that's where you should shine. Is have your voice, have your point, say your things. Twitter is stupid and it should be destroyed.
That's nonsense. Do you know how much knowledge there is on Twitter? Oof. There's so much knowledge on Twitter. For those of you who can't afford these news sites, there are articles, there are copy and pasted things of articles of stuff. So you can get a lot of knowledge on
for news. But you're talking about the other stuff, the mental health wise of it. Of seeing like people,
well, I don't disagree with that. It can be dangerous.
It's horrible. And like to see, like,
I've had my moments with it for sure.
Mike goes home after a day at work, dressing up and jumping in Waterworld, and he comes home and he gets home and he's all exhausted, and then he goes, "Oh, I hate that person. Now I'm gonna get more mad." And it's like, well, who are you yelling at? I don't understand. What's the deal with yelling at Twitter?
Who are these people?
Aisha Kenya. Hello, gentlemen. Happy Monday. Hello, Aisha. With the growing success of Penguin, should DC focus on the Batman universe for now and hold off on Brave and the Bold? Well, that's kind of what Zoloft is trying to do. I think the unfortunate thing is that you kind of need Batman in the DCU, though. When you're starting off the way that I think you can slowly get to him, but the problem is it's going to be inevitable where you're going to cross over the Brave and the Bold and the Batman Part 3. You can wait until the Batman Part 2 comes out, but then you're going to have to cross over. Do you disagree, Joe?
No, I don't disagree with you. I think it's going to be, but I don't think you're not going to make James Gunn all of a sudden make a turn,
Right.
So it's going to be the Superman thing. I think it's going to delay them announcing a Batman, though. I think we've got a little bit of a ways to go before they're going to figure out what they're going to do with the Batman, because clearly Matt Reeves' formula works.
Yep.
And for the Batman. So how are you going to?
I know, especially as these ratings get better and better for the Penguin. Yeah.
Well, they will.
Yeah, I know.
They will.
I know.
Yeah.
Michael Miles. As much as I enjoyed the Batman, but is it just me or is the Penguin even better? Yeah, it's got more time. It's got more time to shine. I am legit concerned that the Penguin is raising the bar so high that the Batman 2 might have trouble getting to that level. I love this show. I love it too, but as John just said, Matt Reeves is heavily involved in this. So this is essentially the story that he's telling to lead into the Batman Part 2. So I would be the opposite. I'm more excited for it.
Penguin's going to go into Batman Part 2.
Yes,
and so, in my opinion, so will Victor. And so I think that's going to be an interesting situation when it happens, when we go into Batman Part 2, because I've quietly said that I think Victor is possibly a new Robin, or in some, because he's lost his parents. And so to me, I got this idea of what might be happening here.
Yeah.
But I think it's everything going to line up. So yeah.
Derek Johnson.
Have faith.
I'm giving James Gunn a chance, Kristian, but I'm not cutting him any slack. DC has been a slump for over a decade, and it lives and dies in that Superman movie. I don't disagree with any of that. I need my new head coach to close the doors and be about business. I can't disagree with anything that you said there. I agree. It's like, it's like when you have a chance to see your team do better and they have a new head coach, you want the head coach to make the moves, and then you got to win a couple of games before you get the loyalty. I get it. Pete Parker, Schmo's choice, Joker 2 or the Marvels? Joker 2.
Oh, Joker 2.
Yeah. Joker 2 is a better movie. It's a better movie.
Yeah, some of these narratives coming out about the Marvels, guys, give it a rest. It's over.
What is it?
It didn't do well. Move on.
Is it too much to get
They're
into?
like, should we talk about white men not leading films anymore like we did with Marvels? And I'm like, guys, it's a completely different conversation. You're trying to make these things happen, or people are like, how come?
Because of the Joker. Because the Joker did bad. Okay, got it.
And it was giving space for Todd Phillips. What about the director of the Marvels? And
Marvel's it's a sloppy, really bad movie, and the Joker's not a great.
He
movie.
wasn't happy.
Yeah. Anthony, hey guys, big fan of y'all. Just curious, your guys' thoughts on WWE Bad Blood this past weekend? From what I didn't get a chance to see it, but from what I heard, it was phenomenal. I heard the CM Punk. That was the best match of the card, right?
Best match of the card. Yeah, I did a watch along on my channel, my wrestling channel that I have there, the Ring Generals. I had a great time watching that thing, and that match was an instant classic.
Oh wow! Okay,
classic.
I gotta watch it. I'll watch it.
Yep.
All right. Derek Johnson, watching The Rock, I just get feeling his promos aren't what they used to be. It gives off that he's trying too hard to be bad, and it doesn't come across smooth as it used to be. Am I reading this wrong? Well, he didn't really say anything from this thing. He just walked out. But I liked what he did, and to answer the previous question also, from everything that they've said with this whole card, it looked like the CM Punk one stood out. The Bloodline one is still, they're milking this in the best way possible. They're still able to keep that Bloodline thing going, and they're doing it really, really well, and they're getting tons of love out of it, and they're doing it kind of masterfully. And I even like the stuff that they did with Kevin Owens behind the scenes was a good move. So they're doing some good stuff. And The Rock, they're going to utilize him well. His promos are the best. So you're a turncoat, though. Do you like his promos still?
I do. Well, liked his promos.
Yeah.
I'm more of a truth teller instead of a sycophant. So I like to tell the truth about people, like The Rock. And so I'll call him out when I need to, and I'll praise him when I need to. And I thought his coming back in the way he did this over the weekend, not saying a word and just doing the 3-2, the 1-2-3, I thought was awesome.
Really good. Buster Barnes, how is Gunn taking credit? Did he say he made notes for Super/Man? Promoting movies under his own studio should be expected.
No.
Or he wait. or he didn't promote Penguin. People, if he didn't promote Penguin, people would be complaining he can't win. John, what say you on that?
Well, he didn't promote. That's not what he said. He said that I'm so proud of what's coming out of the DCU Studios banner. He purposely he talked about his universe. He put it in that construct. He knew exactly what he was doing by saying that, and that is essentially grabbing credit for stuff he had nothing to do with, like the Penguin and Super/Man, and claiming that it's all coming out under his regime. And look how they're dealing with, and with Joker too. He's just saying, "Oh, I gave some notes. It's no big deal." Blah, blah, blah. So it's like he's playing a little bit of a convenient game here, and that's what I mean about taking credit. Come on, guys, it's Hollywood, man. It's all about status. Stop thinking these are great people who don't have an interest in some of this stuff. It's all about brand saving and staying alive. And so Gunn knows what he's doing here and how he's playing it, and people are rightfully calling him out for it. You know.
Let's see. Next one. And this is from D. Duval, 59. I was unaware people hated Doctor Strange 2 so much that they didn't want Raimi back. That movie was the most interesting and fun MCU movie since Ragnarok. Raimi went full Raimi and it rocked. But clearly, that's from a Raimi person. You know what I mean? So I think that person proves our point.
Yeah,
Raimi 100%. Had loved them, and look, there are a lot of Raimi hits, and rightfully so. Yeah. Not we're not two of them, but they do. So, okay, we have a couple more, and we got Thomas Logan. Rocha needs to rewatch Joker 2019. Arthur didn't plan to kill Murray. He planned to kill himself. He's not a psychopath. He was never going to be one. He did say that in the second one too. By the way, he did say that he was planning on going there to do it himself.
You're saying, go ahead, finish the question.
No,
sorry,
that was it. That was the question. The question was,
okay.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is I should believe a psychopath who's off his medication when he tells me what he was going to do. But then on the other side, so what you're saying is I should believe the unreliable narrator about what he was going to do. First of all, I watch that movie all the time. I love that movie. And I never believed him for a second that he wanted to kill himself. I think for sure, because if he'd wanted to kill himself, he could have done it any number of opportunities. He had to kill himself. He wanted to go on national television to get that exposure. And when Murray made fun of him, he thought he had the excuse and the reason to kill him for maximum effect. But he had no idea what it was going to lead to. I had no way ever thought he was going to kill himself. That's just an act he plays so that then he always follows it with a psychotic decision to kill other people. Yeah.
Travis, Shawshank Redemption bombed at the box office. It made $28 million on a $25 million budget. Box office doesn't always equal quality. I enjoyed Saturday Night. Well, that's not necessarily untrue. I mean, look at another one. Look at Transformers 1. Look at what's the one that I just thought? Shoot, I just had one in my head and lost it. But Dredd is another one.
Dredd's great.
Dredd's a great movie. That movie ate a big pile. So I agree with that. I think that's totally fair. That it's.
Yeah, but I also think, Kristian, that that's a different set of circumstances, right? I mean, no one was like, "Oh my God, the next Morgan Freeman, Tim Robbins movie." No one was going crazy for Shawshank. It came out, and people didn't know Darabont at this point, so it came out. It was a damn good movie. It just didn't find an audience.
Yeah.
Joker is a massively marketed movie, so it's a whole nother ballgame when you talk about a box office not doing well and somehow the film is still good despite the box office. Those are two completely different sets of circumstances. So,
Yes Boy.
With Dredd,
Yes Boy says this: how dare the WWE for making me want Gunter versus Goldberg?
No.
Is he set up to wrestle again? I know he was there last night.
They teased him because Gunther called him out.
Okay.
And Goldberg came out over the rail and was going to come into the ring, and then Sami Zayn showed up, thankfully, and knocked Gunther out of the ring, and then Goldberg and Cole had some weird interaction, and that was it. Now people are like, should he get a final match against Gunther? What does Gunther get out of a 5-minute match with a gassed Goldberg?
Let him beat Goldberg let him beat him. Because if he's gonna,
let him squash him. But no way Bill Goldberg will ever agree to that, though.
No way. Shay Markel, hey fellas, just so you know, Coy hates the original Crow with Brandon Lee. Does he really? When did that happen? Apparently, the guy also hates the soundtrack for that movie as well. Oh, I'm going to bring that up. Does he really? Is that weird. True? I know he hates the most recent one. I'm going to have to find that out. I love that first movie.
And really, that soundtrack. Still one of the greatest soundtracks.
So good. Yes, boy. No spoilers, but they made an emphasis to make sure on film to never call him the Joker. That's why they made to just call him just Joker. Yeah, I mean it that was pretty clear throughout that. Okay. We did it, John. You ended up today at 53, my friend. That's pretty good.
Hey,
That's a good start to the week. 53. So, all right, you got a lot going on. What's going on this week?
Yeah, head on over to the channel, youtube.com/John Rocha Says. As I said earlier, we just crossed 35,000 subscribers, marching to 50,000. Help us get there by coming over there. youtube.com/John Rocha Says. We got the Penguin Review. Episode 3 is out now. Later on tonight, 5 p.m. PT, we're going live with the Geek Buddies for a breakdown of Joker Folie. We got the Star Wars show coming up, to the Jedi Way coming up a little bit later on. We got Spill the Tequila. And if you want to hang out today and talk some NFL on my sports channel, Game Time, Winston A. Marshall and I will be breaking down the Week 5 action at 1:30 p.m. live today on that channel. But Kristian, thanks for having me on. Thanks to everybody.
Before you leave, John, before you run, John, one last one. Shay Markell, he says, hey, remember the movie Jumper with Hayden Christensen? Personally, I hope that movie gets a reboot. I had an all-star team, but couldn't stick the landing. Would you guys be interested? I would. I thought that idea, the idea itself was pretty solid, but it was just executed poorly. What about yourself?
Yeah, I thought that film and In Time, the Justin Timberlake one, I think both of those films had really interesting premises, jumping around, but in time, but I don't think they were 100% handled well. So yeah, I'd be open to see. I bet Jumper would be a great series.
Yeah,
that would be an awesome.
That would be a great series. And Pete Parker closes it out. Please, Raimi, do another Darkman. That I'd be on board with.
Oh, I'm bored with that. I would love to see that.
All right, now you're at 55. All right. Get out of here, John.
Thank you, guys. Much love.
Thank you guys for being here with us today. So excited. Thanks for John for being with us also. It's a really fun stream. Great way to start the weekend. Great weekend. Start the week and get towards the weekend, I guess. I have tons of stuff happening here. I've just put up my Penguin reaction that's out there. My wife and I are going to be continuing doing the Agatha series. Sam is coming back to do Warrior. I'm going to start and make sure that consistently we're doing 2 movies a week on the reactions, but I think this week we'll probably get limited to 1 just because of time constraints. But I'm really thankful to you guys that you've been enjoying it and all the stuff that we have going on. I have an out of the theater reaction for a couple different things this week and next. So that's it, man. We're busy. So thanks for being here. We'll be back here live tomorrow with Roxy, and I think Brett will be here too. So join us. And then Wednesday, it looks like Wednesday, I'm going to have Billy Magnuson on the show. We're going to be having an interview about his new show, The Franchise. So make sure you look out for that. So it's a stacked week. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate you. Check out our sponsors. You want to help out the show? That's how you do it. See you later.